Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Breber, and alongside me is Logan Camden, and it's Sunday night, so you already know the drill. We are going to be reacting to all of the NFL Week 16 action that we just saw. There were some big, very dramatic games this week, Logan, and we will start with the nightcap, a Sunday night football game that on paper should have been a little more high stakes than it ended up being, just because we thought we were going to get this elite quarterback matchup, Drake Maye versus Lamar Jackson. Unfortunately, Lamar's injury riddled and just unfortunate season continues. He ends up leaving this game pretty early, but Drake Maye and the Patriots still do have to lead a double-digit comeback in the fourth quarter of this game. So let's start with them, Logan. Were you impressed by a performance from this team that we've talked about having a very historically easy schedule, not having a lot of these big matchups? This didn't end up being a matchup where they faced Lamar like we thought it would, but do you walk away impressed from this game?
A little bit. I don't look at the Patriots as a drastically different team. I mean, my prevailing sentiment, I think, out of this game is I think Drake Maye is my MVP. I know that they've played a very light schedule, but when we do this thought exercise of like talent around them, I get the Patriots have a solid defense and a coach that I like, but he's got one really good receiver in Stephon Diggs. Like, I just think that I know he's played a light schedule. I feel like Drake Maye has been one of the most consistent quarterbacks in the NFL this season. He came up big time in a game where the Pats, I don't know if they necessarily needed this to get into the playoffs, but to keep a leg up on Buffalo and to have a chance at winning this division still in that aspect.
It's really more significant for the 1 seed chances because the division is just going to come down to
the
division
last matchup.
As long as the Patriots win against the Dolphins and the Jets, they're going to win the division no matter what. And if they lose either of those games, they're going to lose the division no matter what, presuming that the Bills win out. So it's really more for their competition with Denver.
I've just been exceptionally amazed by Drake Maye. I feel like the only down moment, I feel like he's had two kind of down moments this season that really stick out to me, and that is the end of the Bills game where the offense really falters and they allow the Bills to come back and win that one, and against my Pittsburgh Steelers where he throws that red zone interception, and it was just a comedy of errors really in that game where the Pats have, a bunch of turnovers, and a lot of that's on Ramondre too that game. But he's just been one of the most consistent guys in the game this year, and I don't feel like he has a ton of great offensive infrastructure around him. And when I consider that, I just think he's got to be up there for me. It's one of the most impressive second-year campaigns I've ever seen by a quarterback. The plays he's making down the stretch for New England, having to navigate with a lot of pressure from Baltimore, stepping up in the pocket, making plays, making throws, even down to the end. That was a bullshit-ass call. I'm glad ball don't lie here at the end of the game. That was a horrible non-DPI call on that deep ball to Booty. But I just feel like Drake Maye has consistently been excellent, and I feel like they're well-rounded. I would have liked them to beat down Baltimore a little bit just because I don't think they're as legit as I thought they were. Derrick Henry still got a little bit of juice. I thought he played a pretty decent game outside of the fumble. And the Ravens are all right. They're not good. They're not going to be in the playoffs, I don't think. I think Baltimore without Lamar is just cooked. I think their season's pretty much chopped at this point. I really wonder if Lamar was ever fully healthy at any point during this year, man. Like, I'm not sorry for Baltimore.
The year. But after he came back, I agree he hasn't looked 100%. He hasn't looked the same as the Lamar that we're used to.
I'm happy that Baltimore lost this game. It gives the Steelers a little bit more of a cushion in terms of their opportunity to win this division. So I'm happy they lose. I hate any time a team gets faced with these kind of circumstances throughout an entire year. And Baltimore's probably the most disappointing team, I'd say, in football this season, man. I don't know. I mean, the Chiefs have to be up there. I think it's probably a race between them two, but it's a sad season for them. I'm not really that different. I had New England as a top 5 team, top 6 team in my contender rankings. I still feel like that's where they belong in a very middling AFC and NFL overall this season. I think the Patriots are solid, and they've got an MVP at quarterback.
Yeah, that's still too high for me with the Pats. I think for the most part this game, they looked pretty mediocre against a very mediocre football team. The Ravens without Lamar, we talk about there being over the years like an almost 2 touchdown difference. I think it's like 12 points per game is the difference between what they do offensively with him on the field and off the field. Obviously, ever since early in the season, this pass rush just has been decimated with Matabike out. And I think the defense has played better over the last couple weeks, but it just isn't nearly the unit that we anticipated them being. When you take Lamar off the field, everything changes. And Lamar hadn't looked like himself even in recent weeks, but Snoop Huntley, he's a nice backup. Obviously, the level of opponent that you're facing changes dramatically, though, when you go from Lamar to him. And for a lot of this game, I don't know. I thought that the Patriots were outplayed. Like, I think their run defense is really bad right now and has been since Milton Williams got hurt. I think they are bottom 3 in terms of the opponent rushing success rate that they are allowing in that time. And the Ravens, like, just kind of fumbled this one away to an extent, and they're also just not that good without Lamar. But like, it was very baffling to me that on their last real offensive drive before they got the ball back down 4 and Zay Flowers fumbled it, Derrick Henry just not being involved when he had been so effective in this game and had been crushing them over like 7 yards per attempt. I don't know. This wasn't the performance I wanted to see from the Patriots, because I do feel like we have to acknowledge they literally have the easiest schedule this century. And on the year, they're 2-2 against teams that are 500 or better. So I do put more stock into them in these games against decent teams, just because we've seen so few of them from New England. They face so many bottom feeders. And like I said, this wasn't like a convincing win, but Drake Maye was clutch. Absolutely. Like, you got to give him props for those last 2 drives. Particularly, it's just the fact that he's been the best deep ball thrower in football this year. Like, he just uncorks that one to Kyle Williams. That immediately brings them right back into the game when they had been lifeless. They had been struggling consistently. And then, like you said, I mean, the booty one should have been another completion if he wasn't literally tackled by Marlon Humphrey. And still, he came up with the 4th down. I guess just, I hold Drake Maye to a very high standard, and I understand he's going to have the 4th quarter comeback and the 380 yards. I didn't think this was one of the better games that he's played this year. I thought he was more erratic than we're used to, and I just thought the Pats looked kind of out of sync. I mean, he had that pick when they were in scoring position. He had the fumble. They had the botched handoff. I thought it was just the most balls that he's put in harm's way that I've seen from him all season. There were like 6 balls or so that hit defenders in the hands. He was telegraphing his throws a bit more than usual. And look, the Patriots overcame. They got the win. That's the most important thing. But I do think there's another team in the AFC that I had below the Patriots in my contender rankings that I'm actually more impressed by now, that I do think is just a more talented overall football team. And that's kind of been the holdup for me with New England. It's not Drake. I think that he's incredible. I just don't think they're as talented as like the actual elite upper echelon teams. And I do think they have skated by mostly against this exceptionally historically easy schedule. The Maye MVP case, like, I was on that side until literally last week when I thought, hey, actually, I think Josh is doing the most to elevate his team by just a slight margin over Maye. Maye definitely played a better game than Josh this week. I also think you got to acknowledge Stafford balling out even in a loss this past week. Like, Justin Herbert is now firmly in this conversation.
Realistically, even considering the light schedule, let's put a replacement level quarterback on the New England Patriots. Let's say Jacoby Brissett is their quarterback. How many games do they win this season? That's Maye's case to me. I think,
but that's the exact same case for Justin Herbert and Josh Allen, right? All those guys are doing crazy stuff to elevate their teams to 11
I
wins.
agree. I think that's the case for both of them, but I just think I think the Patriots win like 4-3 games without Drake Maye this season.
With an average starting quarterback
with
against
Jacoby
this
Brissett,
schedule,
I think they win 4 games. This is
all right. Let's go through the schedule, man. Logan, it's the easiest in the NFL since 1999.
Can we just not ignore how great? I mean, Drake Maye has been awesome this year.
Okay,
bro.
You're saying they wouldn't win 3 or 4 games? Of course he has. I'm a huge Drake Maye glazer. I said he's the number 1 quarterback I would build my franchise around starting today. He is a huge elevator. You're just downplaying how crazy light the schedule really is. They've played the Raiders, the Dolphins. The Panthers is their second best win of the year. Like the Saints, the Titans, the Browns, the Falcons, the Jets, the Bengals, the Giants. Like, I'm sorry. If you put Jacoby Brissett in there against that schedule, yeah, they'd win like 6 games. And that's not to say that Drake Maye is not a huge difference maker and a top 5 quarterback and a firm MVP candidate. I absolutely believe all those things. I just feel like you are not acknowledging how crazy like the schedule really has been and how against actual solid teams, to me, they have not been impressive. They've been okay. So that's where I'm at with New England. I'm not moved by a performance like this, but Maye came up with the big plays. It was just a weird game for them. The stupid fake punt decision, 4th and 10 on their own 40, thought that was bad. Like, if they host the Texans round 1, which would be the matchup right now, 2 versus 7, I would pick Houston 100%. I just think they're a more talented football team. It's not a Drake Maye thing at all. I'm the biggest Drake Maye advocate there is. But there's a reason that this was a team that last year won 4 games. And yes, they spent in the offseason, absolutely. And Drake Maye has taken a huge leap from last year. But they still, to me, just don't have a lot of those difference makers. Defensively, they have Christian Gonzalez, and they have no other real difference makers on that side of the ball. And I do think their defensive numbers are really, really padded by facing a historically easy schedule in terms of the offenses they're facing, like incompetent quarterback after incompetent quarterback.
I don't think they have any superstars outside of Christian Gonzalez, but I think they have guys that do their job, and they're exceptionally well coached on that side of the ball by Mike Vrabel. Really quick on the Maye thing. I don't know, man. Like, when I look at this offense, the Bills have a better offensive line than the Pats, I think, pretty clearly. Like,
of course,
I think when we're talking about these teams and these candidates, I would argue, I mean, I think the Chargers are definitely the worst, right? Like, it's not actually a debate. But then I would say Maye is probably second among those guys. I think that, I mean, if we were making the guy doesn't have help case, the MVP is probably Justin Herbert and then Drake Maye, if we're going to go by that kind of metric. But
right. But obviously it's a balancing act of, okay, not just who has the least help, because you also have to look at the offensive
results. I just think Drake Maye has which I think played the position better than like any of these guys, man.
Arguably, sure. Am I pushing back against Drake Maye as the MVP? No, I'm saying I think it's an open 4-man race. And it seems to me that most of NFL media and voters have decided it's Matt Stafford. It's over. And I disagree with that. I think Drake Maye can still take the award, although at this point, like, his last 2 games are going to be patsy kind of opponents. So this was probably his last opportunity to like have a moment, but I would agree with you. He's been extremely consistent. I think he's been more consistent than Josh. I think Josh has had higher highs. I think Justin Herbert is absolutely elevating the worst offensive supporting cast. I mean, just this truly abysmal offensive line. But also, even though he's got this offense to a place where they're above average, they're not as good as the Patriots offense with Maye, who also are not nearly as good as the Bills offense with Josh Allen, but Josh has the most help. Like, and then there's the Stafford case, of course, who's got these sparkling passing efficiency numbers, but has this overwhelming amount of help all around him in every phase. So that's just where I'm at. I think all these guys are making their own cases. I'm just saying, this to me is not the performance that is like, oh my God, Drake Maye has to be the MVP, because I didn't think that he played a great football game, honestly. I thought that he was good in the important moments down the stretch. I don't know if they have that opportunity to come back, though, if Lamar Jackson is on the field opposite them.
Maybe. I mean, I don't want to do that right now. I mean, you could do that for a lot of injuries in games. But, I mean, I thought Drake Maye made the plays when they needed to get made today, and he did enough to win him the game. He put a dot and, just dropped that ball in the bucket to Kyle Williams. He put Booty in a spot. Like, I thought Drake just delivered. That's all you can ask from a quarterback. And I just don't think the Patriots, I really do. I think Maye takes this team from a cellar dweller to a legitimate playoff contender. And I think the Patriots are still legit. Real quick on this.
Yeah.
Because I know I am a little bit worried about the defense in terms of, I agree with you on the numbers point about the defense fundamentally. I think their numbers are a little bit inflated from the light schedule that they have played.
A lot of it inflated. I think they're 26th in defensive DVOA, which accounts for the actual quality of opponent you're facing.
The thing that worries me the most about New England's defense right now, it is 2 pretty big concerns. Like you said, the running game without Milton Williams is a really big deal. Buffalo beat that ass. You had some big runs in this game. Like, that is really concerning. Maybe a bigger issue, I am worried about them being able to legitimately get pressure on guys when it matters. Like,
I agree.
I really don't see a high-end edge. They've got solid guys, but not anybody that's like, that guy's always going to consistently win 1 versus 1 and wreck a game. You know what I mean? And like in high-stakes environments, that's what I would be worried about with New England. But
that's my concern with New England. It's really the defense. When I say they're not that talented, I think Drake Maye can do a lot to elevate this offense. I am worried about Travion Henderson going down, because he has changed this running game, and we don't know the significance of his injury, the severity of it, but him compared to Ramondre, that is a huge, huge difference in terms of explosiveness, efficiency, in the run game, which when they were mostly leaning on Ramondre, that was really a struggle for this team. The offensive line, I still don't think is good. The receivers, I think, are okay and better than I thought, but like Drake Maye can get them to be a good offense, but there's a reason that they aren't an elite offense, and it's because of the relative lack of talent around him. And then I do just think the defense has been really, really bolstered statistically by this crazy schedule. Like, I thought they looked helpless against the Bills. I thought they looked helpless in terms of run defense today against a team that you know is overwhelmingly going to try to run the ball because they don't have Lamar Jackson out there. So I am not moved by the Patriots at this point. I'm going to be honest. For the Ravens, it's season over at this point. Like, they are a Steelers win or a loss of their own away from official elimination. And Lamar now having another injury when he missed 3 games with the hamstring. He's been on the injury report every week since then with a different thing this week, an ankle, illness, like just hasn't been able to get right. I agree with you that they're one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL this season. I totally overestimated the talent on this roster. I thought they were going to be a power, like a juggernaut, and they have just been anything but. They've been a very mediocre football team. It's really just not their year. It's not their year. And Lamar being out, him missing time is obviously a huge part of that. Lamar not being himself is a big part of that. Some of the defensive injuries they have sustained is a part of that. Coaching is a part of that. Just like kind of what can go wrong has gone wrong for them. And they were able to climb back to 500 on the back of a very easy stretch of the schedule of their own, but they never, ever looked like the team that we thought they would be.
I agree. I think Baltimore's chopped. I wouldn't trot Lamar back out there to the rest of this season. With the way he looked healthy, I don't really think it's worth it. I guess the Steelers, would, like you said, the Steelers got to lose out. The Ravens got to win out. It is possible. I mean, we got the Browns next week, like who knows?
Yeah, but the Ravens have to beat the Packers, although we don't know if Jordan Love is going to play in that game.
I'm not saying I would throw in the towel. I would definitely play hard, and I think the Steelers are not that good, so there is a chance that they, it happens. Who do you think is the 2 best teams in the AFC? If you had to single 2 teams out.
If I had to single 2 out,
if you had
that's
to pick
really
2.
hard. I guess I would go with the same 2 that I had when we did our contender rankings, that being the Bills and the Broncos. But I think the Texans and also the Jags are right there.
Is there a big gap to you between that number 2 team in New England?
I think there's 6 teams that can win the AFC. And New England is one of them. But right now, for me, honestly, they would be the 6th. I am more impressed by what everybody above them has done. But no, the margin is not big at all. I think the formula of Drake Maye being very good, like when you have that level of elite quarterback play, that's something that only the Chargers and the Bills can also claim to have. But I do think the Bills have more offensive talent around Allen, who is still the best quarterback of the bunch. I do think the Chargers actually have a legitimately good defense, which I just don't buy with the Patriots at all. So I would lean on those teams' formulas still.
I think the Patriots at full strength are right. I don't see a big gap. I agree with you. I think they're a contender. I think the Chargers would probably be at the bottom of my list just because that offensive line scares the hell out of me. But I don't see a big gap between the Patriots and some of these other teams. Like, if Trevor Lawrence had been playing the way Drake Maye had been playing all season long, maybe I would say Jacksonville would be over them. There's just a different level of consistency that I feel like I'm getting from Drake Maye. Like, I just trust him more going into the playoffs. So I would give the Pats that nod over Jacksonville.
Better than Trevor Lawrence, but the Jags are a more talented football team, clearly.
The New England.
Yeah, they've got more talent, like by a fair bit on both sides of the ball. I agree with you that Drake Maye is obviously a much better quarterback than T-Law, even as T-Law has been balling, and that changes things for the Jags. But
I just don't think
we're not just comparing quarterbacks here. We're comparing 53-man rosters.
Yeah, but I just don't think New England doesn't belong. I think they belong with any of these teams that we're talking about. So that's
I'm not saying they don't belong. I'm just saying this is obviously a great season for them.
I'm saying in contrast to you, they are not at the bottom of this contender totem pole to me. I think the Patriots are right in the thick of it, right in the middle with everybody else. Like, I just don't. The Patriots aren't like separate. I would put them right in the mix with all these teams.
I don't have a problem with that, but they are at the bottom of this clump for me. It's a clump in the AFC. I do feel like all these other teams give me something that is more reliably elite. If it's Buffalo being a top 2 offense in points per drive this year and the balance they have between the run game and the passing attack and the Josh Allen factor. If it's the Broncos being this dominant defense that has offensive talent. The Texans being like one of the best defenses we've seen this century. The Jags, to me, just being a very complete football team on both sides of the ball with Trevor Lawrence now playing at like an actual high level. Chargers having like the factor of elite top 5 quarterback and also a legitimately good defense. I do think when you come down to the Patriots, it is a lot on Drake Maye, who is very, very good, absolutely elite, but not as much talent on the football team. But the AFC is going to be fascinating this year. I'm just trying to calibrate expectations because this is obviously a huge success of a season no matter what for the Patriots. They've turned around so much from last year. Everything is so clearly going in the right direction. You feel great about your head coach. You feel amazing about your quarterback. You feel good about your offseason. But do I think they are 12-3 good as a football team? No, I do not. Let's talk about your Steelers, Logan. They picked up a huge win over the Detroit Lions, but a win that was not without controversy. And I think we have to start there with this game. Do you think that the officials handled things correctly in those final few seconds of this one?
Yeah, duh. I don't really know how you could. I mean, like, I don't think they handled it perfectly. I think Amon-Ra's progress clearly got stopped before he lateraled that ball to Jared Goff. Like, that's the only thing that I would say that I think the officials got wrong. They got the call on the field correct. Amon-Ra runs.
What about going back to the first down? What about the offensive pass interference on Tesla? Like that entire sequence. Do you think that was the right call?
Yes, that was clearly a pick play, and they missed the first pick play that they ran in the game. That wasn't the first pick play that Detroit ran. They let them score a touchdown on a pick play earlier in the game, and then they actually called that one. So, yeah, and don't act like my thing is Detroit bungled the end of this game as much as the Steelers did. Right on that same drive, I mean, you have you got a holding penalty, I believe, and you got a Highsmith tripping and a Duggar DPI right after Boswell gifted them a missed 37-yard field goal that gave them a chance to win the game at the end. Like, I don't want to hear jack shit about the referees, man. The Steelers handed the Lions that game on a silver platter, and they couldn't get it done because
well, I do think it's significant when you wipe a touchdown off the board.
The Lions aren't that good.
2 touchdowns, but I agree with you that the second one was ridiculous because obviously Amon-Ra's forward progress had been stopped.
I mean, people can whine about the Steelers have had a couple of controversial touchdowns overturned. The refs didn't get it wrong. Amon-Ra clearly commits that penalty. I don't think the fumble should have been allowed, and it's like, I don't know. I didn't think it should have been. If this is controversial, I think it's pretty dumb. Like,
I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the Tesla because I think that was a much more iffy call. Okay, well,
a pick play. It was the second one the Lions had run in the red zone.
From the perspective of somebody who was not a fan of either team involved in this game, I thought that was iffy. I think the problem, and probably the biggest reason that was called, is that it worked so well that the Steelers defender completely stopped moving. So Amon-Ra was so wide open. I think the contact occurred quickly. It was still more than a yard past the line of scrimmage. So that would constitute an illegal pick. I've seen some people mention there was a slight push from the one Steelers defender into Tesla, moving him towards the other Steelers defender.
Tesla's got to act like he's significant. I think Tesla's got to act like he's running a route.
But that wasn't like one of the obvious, I'm just running through a guy kind of moments. Like that was a conceivable sort of crossing pattern. I just think the line between legal rub route and illegal pick is very, very subjective in the NFL. It's a tough thing to call. That one to me really could go either way. I might lean in that spot on not calling it because it is so close. I do think it's a defensible call though. So I agree with you. There shouldn't be outrage, but I think you have to mention it because Lions fans are looking at that and they're going, that is an iffy call. That takes a touchdown off the board. The Amon-Ra offensive pass interference, I thought was clear, first of all. And you can even say to that, look, that doesn't always get called. And I agree. I think that receivers are often allowed to get away with initiating physicality, using their off arm to hold off defenders. Like you don't see a lot of OPI calls. However, two-handed shove to the chest, that's pretty clear, especially when it fully displaces the defender like it did Jalen Ramsey, who also definitely sold the call. At that point, like when it is the reason that Amon-Ra gets open, I think you're in a position where you have to call that. And I do think they were right to call it. And I also just think they bungled it in terms of making it much more confusing and controversial to the fans, to the people watching at home, because they wrongly ruled it a touchdown taken back by an OPI when it was not a touchdown. Amon-Ra's forward progress had been stopped for like 2 full seconds. He was being driven backwards. It was a sick play, but the play should have already been dead.
It wasn't just confusing to the people on the TV. My friend Angela was at the game, and people in the stadium didn't know what was going on because it was
They
too
cheered.
loud for
And
them
then
to
Carl
hear.
Jeffers had to say, no. The game isn't over like you guys won it.
No,
the game is over like you don't get to replay the down because it was an offensive penalty with no time on the clock.
He literally texted me after the game was over and asked me to give him the recap because he had no idea what happened. Like, it was just, I would understand, just like, I would be frustrated with that aspect of it, that it was just confusing and messy and not handled correctly.
The aspect of the late game execution that really sticks out to me, though, it's not a call. It's Detroit going with the rub route, pick play, whatever you want to call it, on 1st and goal from the 1. You've got 21 seconds on the clock. You've got 4 plays, if you manage it correctly, to go 1 yard to score, to almost certainly win the football game at that point. I just think it's too risky to incur the risk of an OPI call when that is like a horrible, horrible outcome for you. The only thing that is worse is a sack. I mean, obviously a pick too, but like going back 10 yards is a disaster outcome.
And then they followed it up with a false start.
That's true. That made it even worse. But to me, like, you know that there is a chance if you are going to run one of these plays that they are going to call you for offensive pass interference. I would have come out 1st and goal from the 1. Yeah, maybe it's predictable. We're going to try to run it down your throat. I can live with predictable, and I understand the Lions had not run the ball well, but to me, that's still a relatively high percentage play, and if you don't get it, that's fine. You call your last timeout, you've got 17 seconds left, and now you've got 3 downs to still try to throw it in. Like, I just thought that was poor management on their part, and that is really what put them in this position where the game should have been theirs. I mean, props to them for twice checking the screens that picked up these huge swaths of yardage. Once you get to 1st and goal from the 1, should be game over. And I do think they bear responsibility for putting themselves in a bad position to get out of that.
I thought this game was bad for the Lions from a lot of different aspects. I agree. I mean, I think this is just a really sobering moment, I would say, for the state of the Lions season.
If they had won this game, I wouldn't have felt
neither would I. I was going to feel bad about both teams coming out of this game. Actually, I mean, Pittsburgh, but what I will say, I have I have a few positive things to say about the Steelers offense.
Game.
Detroit, though, the biggest thing to me, I don't want to bury the lead here, had to be the defense. That's the greatest game I've ever seen Jaylen Warren play. I love Jaylen Warren. I think he is a phenomenal running back. He is an elite pass protector. He is awesome in the receiving game. Warren has one of the best he's got some of the best balance I've ever seen from a running back. Those small guys with a lower center of gravity are so hard to knock off their feet. He's like a weeble wobble, man. Like, you just hit him, but he does not fall down. Like, he's awesome. But for him, and like, don't get me wrong, Dub is a really good running back, and I think he's really underrated. And the Steelers don't even use him enough. Like, Kenneth Gainwell's been balling out this year. He makes the play of the game. He saves this game for Pittsburgh at the end of this first half. But Warren breaking out and getting 2 big runs like that, like, I thought the Lions defense was just embarrassingly bad in this game, and they have been completely depleted. They're missing so many important pieces. If it's Terry and Arnold, if it's Kirby Joseph, if it's Brian Branch, like, I'm pretty sure they're missing like 7 total starters on this team. That's bad to me. Also bad to me, the Lions abandoning the run in the second half. No, I want to be clear about something. Obviously, the Lions did not run the ball well in the first half. Running the ball is still their strength. And a big part of why the Lions lost this football game is because they let the Steelers go on like a 12-minute drive that ate up all of the clock in the third quarter. And it's because they had a couple of drives that are just basically like Goff dropping back and having just 3 and outs where they don't even try to run the ball. And that's an issue to me with Detroit, where shout out Goff, shout out for them figuring it out when the running game wasn't going. But I am never fully abandoned the running game. I never liked that for Detroit, and I think that they cost themselves a couple of drives where they came too predictable. And the safety, too. Oh, my God. That's really just on Goff. But that was another gift that the Steelers gave Detroit that they didn't capitalize on. Darnell Washington fumbles in the red zone, and Goff takes a sack. I thought Goff did not play I thought he did enough in the second half to get them close, but I didn't think it was a great game from him. I thought he crumbled under a lot of pressure at certain parts in this game. This was just, I was really I'm going to give the Steelers some praise here in a minute because they're not a contender, but I'm the highest that I've been on the Steelers this season. The offense continues to impress me with what they're doing, but yikes, man. This was a really ugly game from Detroit. And I know they're missing a lot of guys, but and I know they're eliminated from the playoffs now, but like this has not looked like a playoff team for a couple of like back-to-back weeks now.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're 4-5 in their last 9, right? And we've talked about them not being able to win the big game this year when they go up against good teams, just consistently falling a little bit short. To me, though, this really does come down to the defense. And for the second straight year, unfortunately, last year they were obviously able to overcome it much more effectively. They went 15-2, and Aaron Glenn did an unbelievable job. But this year they have not been able to pull that same magic out of the hat. I mean, their defense failed them flat out. We can nitpick things with the offense, but if you just look at their arc this season, that's what it comes down to. Dude, the Steelers hadn't gained 400 yards of offense in a game all season. That's even having played the Bengals defense twice, who, by the way, they had 2 of their top 3 yardage outputs this season against one of the worst defenses we've seen in a long time. Pittsburgh had 481 yards of offense today against Detroit. And you're mentioning, dude, the Jaylen Warren 45-yard touchdown runs. We're not talking about the Beastquake, right? He's not bobbing and weaving, making everybody miss, running through people. It's like you get to the second level and you're gone. I mean, some of those angles the safeties are taking, like, there couldn't be a bigger difference between the Lions' healthy safety play and the safety play the Lions have gotten over these last few weeks, with Brian Branch also going out. Kirby Joseph has been out for an extended stretch. Like, even if they had found a way to win this game, my opinion of them was going to be lower than it was coming into this game, because I've been worried about the defense. This has been the reason for concern, but it's just gotten so bad, dude. I mean, over the last handful of weeks now, last 5 games, Detroit is allowing 459 yards per game and 31.6 points per game. I mean, that includes a performance against the Giants, who they allowed to get 500 plus yards. The Steelers going for almost 500 yards. Like, they were just never going to do anything serious, being that bad defensively. And also, the interior offensive line really has gotten down to dire straits. Like, that was obviously one of the big changes this offseason. You lose Ragnow, you lose Zeitler, but they were down to their 3rd string center in this game. I mean, just a lot of inexperience in that group, lower drafted players. That's got to be a huge priority for them. And 12 rushing attempts for 15 yards for the Detroit Lions. It's almost unthinkable. So I agree with you. They became very one-dimensional in terms of their play calling, where they weren't even trying to run it, but they ran the ball very poorly. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Goff was perfect in this game, that Goff has been perfect in this season, but I do really give my props to him, man. Like, overall, I think he has been the most stable aspect of this team, really. The totality of this offense has been quite good overall, but he drove them down the field repeatedly on these sort of clutch drives as they really mean comeback effort.
I really mean on those first 2 drives out of the second half where they go 3 and out. Like, I just think it was a fundamental mistake to not run the ball one of those downs and try to
I agree.
They became really predictable, and we put Goff in a box on both of those possessions. And I thought that was the difference because, like I said, the sandwich between the safety 3 and out and the other 3 and out, the Steelers eat up 10 minutes of clock. Yeah. And I think, like, in my opinion, you know, if there's more time on the clock, the Lions win this game. You know what I mean? Like, I think they get it done.
I do think, though, what he was able to do in, like, obvious passing situations over and over again in that fourth quarter, 75-yard touchdown drive, 70-yard touchdown drive you 65 yards down the field to the precipice of a 3rd straight touchdown drive in the comeback effort. Like, I just want to be clear, Jared Goff cannot be the fall guy here for this game, for the Lions season. He went for 364 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks today. And I thought he handled the pressure really well for a guy who we talk about being obviously very limited as a mover, somebody who can struggle to throw if he gets moved off his spot. He was under a lot of duress, and no, he wasn't like one of the elite guys considering that in this game, but he was able to keep moving the ball even as the Steelers pass rushers could just pin their ears back and commit to rushing the passer because they knew that Detroit wasn't going to run the ball. Over this entire year, dude, he's like at over 4,000 yards now, 8 yards per pass attempt, 69% completion, 32 touchdowns, 5 picks, 109 passer rating. Like, Jared Goff has been the same guy that he has been over these last couple years when the Lions have been winning 12 games, 15 games, been at the top of the league offensively, which they really still are this season. He was good overall today. He was good against the Rams. He was good in the Green Bay rematch. As the slide has really started for Detroit, it really has been on the defense, like almost fully on the defense. Again, you can nitpick the Lions offense, but they're struggling so much on the other side of the ball and still playing quite well offensively overall. So I do think Detroit's in need of a little reload now. This has been a team that has been about as stacked overall, both sides of the ball, as anybody in football, been very, very successful, especially in the regular season, but they've got to rebuild that interior offensive line, and they just need to get better depth on defense. And you can say that about anybody if they're always hurt, as the Lions defense has been over these last couple years, but that honestly makes the need for depth even greater for them, because maybe these guys just are injury prone. But trotting out a second string defense for them in some crucial spots, like, the drop off has been absolutely massive. And I think they just need to invest more in that depth, really, defensively, because it's been so costly for them that they haven't had it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going offensive line like the first 2-3 rounds, interior probably, and then maybe doing that the rest of the way. I think center has to be the spot that I'm looking for. I think that's been the biggest regression point. The fact that Duggar got that safety in the red zone and he never picked him up as hot, that was really damning to me in this game. And like the fact that you're not running the ball with a tandem like Gibby and Monty, dude, this was the best running back tandem in football last year. And this isn't a new occurrence. I will give the Steelers props. Benton, Harmon, Hayward, when they've needed to step up in big games, like, dude, they stonewalled Jonathan Taylor. They stonewalled Gibby and Monty. Like, don't get me wrong, the Steelers aren't going to be perfect every week, but when they've had these big running games and great offenses to step up against, they have. And so I want to give them props there. But yeah, I think Detroit needs to retool. I don't think they're far away. Detroit's still very talented. This offense has playmakers everywhere. Like,
I think if their safeties stay healthy, they're still in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think
I mean,
so
they're
too.
still a top 5 offense in passing efficiency, rushing efficiency, and points per drive. So it's not that there's been a huge drop off in talent. It's just a little drop off in talent, some bad injury luck, and a tough schedule too. And that can be the difference between making the playoffs and missing it.
We don't have to spend a ton much more on this game. I don't have a bunch left on it, but I will give some props to some Steelers. Like I said, I thought Gainwell making that play at the end of the first half, that was a superhuman play, an unreal catch, and then the wherewithal to get up and go to the end zone. I mean, that was just absolutely massive for a miracle TD. I'll give props to Mike Tomlin gambling for it on 4th down in any spot. He actually did it today. Mike Tomlin reportedly said to reporters, we have to be selective and be smart about when we're going for it because it can swing games. And I thought I died and went to heaven, man. I couldn't believe it. I was like, Mike Tomlin is acknowledging that you can be aggressive on 4th down and it can benefit your team in a positive way. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. That's one of my biggest gripes with Mike Tomlin as a head coach. If Mike Tomlin changes that and the offense produces, Mike could stick around. That is because here's one thing about Mike. Mike is not in charge of personnel, and I don't mind that. I like Omar Khan. I actually think no matter what the Steelers do with Mike Tomlin or a lot of these veterans in the offseason, I think Omar Khan needs to stay. I have loved his aggressiveness as a general manager. Kevin Colbert never did this. He never made midseason moves. He never made big swings in free agency or the draft. Omar Khan is not afraid to make swings and take chances, and he's not afraid to miss. And what I want to give him a bunch of credit for, and it's little plays throughout this game, but him going out and acquiring Adam Thielen and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I know it seems dumb, and I know MVS drops the deep ball in this game. Adam Thielen and MVS are actually so much better than any of the other receivers we have on this roster. It's sad. It's pathetic that in the big 2025, those are our number 2 and 3 guys. But Omar has done that this offseason, going out and getting Aaron Rodgers, trading for DK Metcalf. Like, if Kevin Colbert had done these things, they would be viewed as radical and crazy. Omar's not afraid to make big swings, and I just want to commend him for making moves and doing that. And I want to commend Aaron Rodgers for just being a rock for this team and consistently making good decisions, being able to read defenses, and I really like him and Coach T together. But anyway, back on Mike, because I've been very critical of Mike. I've been wanting to give him the boot. I mean it. because I think Mike is a generally good defensive coach season to season. If we can change up our offensive philosophy and stop playing to lose, not to lose. Thank you. If we can stop playing not to lose and start playing to win, that really, I mean it, makes a huge difference to me as a Steelers fan. Let's lose by 20, Mike. Put your nuts on the table and let's try to win some big games, man, because this is the first game I've seen, or the second game I've seen this year. We're in a big fourth down spot. Mike has said, let's go for it. I've seen 3 or 4 this year where it's been 4th and 2, 4th and 1, and he's punted. I hope this is a change he takes with him moving forward, because it's just how you win games in 2025, man.
It's a real phenomenon in coaching philosophy in sports, like the idea that you would rather lose respectably than lose badly, even if risking losing badly increases your probability of winning. Like, they've done some study on it. I forget who it was, but basically in hockey, teams should be pulling the goalie way more than they are, right? But they don't do it because the most likely outcome if you pull the goalie is the other team's going to score on an empty net. But if you're down multiple goals, pulling the goalie is also going to give you, obviously, another offensive player, which is going to substantially enough increase your chance of scoring that it actually gives you the better chance to win, because you're already in a spot now where winning is improbable. And does it matter if you lose by 3 goals or 4 goals compared to like 1 or 2? No, it goes down as a loss. What matters is how do you increase your chance to win? And obviously the NFL has seen this very much so with the 4th down revolution, where there were times like not that long ago where you might be 7 minutes left, you're down 10, it's 4th and 7 at midfield, and you just you just give up on the game. Yeah, or you could watch the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin this year. But at that point, you're just conceding when there actually is still a path to you winning the game, and maybe it's the difference between you losing by 20 and 7, but it's also the thing that's going to give you a chance to win.
There are times this year when commentators will question teams doing that in this spot, and it's like, bro, it's the 4th quarter and they're down 14, bro. You got to kick the tires. You got to get into gear, man.
Exactly. You are in a position now where it's balls to the wall, man. We got to take chances.
Exactly.
Because that's the only way we have a chance.
Who cares if we lose by 28? We're down 14 and you got to take a chance to win. And I want Mike to make a commitment to, if I get passive, I'm going to fold Mike. I want the gambler Mike. I want, I need a guy who's ready to take risks. And he did that today. And I thought it paid off. And I want him to do that more often. And it will legitimately make a difference on how I view Mike Tomlin as a playmaker and a decision maker. If you look on any of the metrics over the past probably 10 years of most cowardly punting teams, these Steelers are always dead last in that metric every single season. So I hope so. I will say, Carson, I've said this every year. It feels like post Big Ben that it feels like we have continued to improve and that this is our best chance to win a playoff game. I think I feel that way again. We're not going to have TJ Watt. I'm going to be honest. There are rumors that TJ could return. I'll be honest with you guys. I am very skeptical that TJ Watt is going to return. He has a collapsed lung. My dad had a collapsed lung in 2011 or 2012 from falling off of a roof. He was in the hospital for 2 months. Like, TJ Watt is a professional athlete, a superhuman. Let's have it. Let's say that TJ's back in a month. We're not going to see TJ again the rest of this season. And also, I just want to say, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers have failed TJ Watt as a football player in basically every facet, in every way imaginable. I think he's one of the greatest players in Pittsburgh Steelers franchise history. He is one of the greatest defenders I have ever watched in my life. And the fact that this guy has never won a playoff game, is likely not going to play in a playoff game if we get him this year. And the fact that our own medical staff punctured his lung a la Tyrod Taylor, with the Los Angeles Chargers, like, that is embarrassing. That is a travesty. And so I feel bad for TJ the human. Me, the Steelers fan that wants to see us make some big changes and maybe overhaul the team next season. I was thinking about this on my way back up to my apartment today.
Address? Should you have the address for the people?
No, I'm not going to dox myself.
Good.
I really want the Steelers to make major decisions this year in terms of roster construction, and I would really like them to trade in some of these higher priced defensive players that we have on the roster that are older and trade them. And even a guy like TJ Watt, as much as I love him and he's probably my favorite Steeler ever, I would like to trade him because I just think that the writing is on the wall that the Steelers are a sinking ship. We are just so old, and I don't think we're replenishing fast enough. If we were to do that, I think, Carson, that we've seriously hampered TJ's trade value. I mean, with this injury, man, I actually think that if I was at the negotiating table with the Steelers, for example, I think TJ would be a guy that would demand on the open market something like 2 first-round picks or a first-round pick and a second or a first and a third. I think that is what he would demand on the open market at this stage. If I'm a team, again, I don't know if the Steelers are going to do this. I'm spitballing here to be clear. But if the Steelers were to entertain this possibility next season and maybe punt to a more rebuilding position, dude, if I'm at the table, I'm going, nah, I'll maybe give you a second. I might give you 1 first. I just think they have – and maybe that's on the high end of what you could get for TJ on a big contract, aging, injured,
31. Just had his worst season.
I just feel like they have even more depreciated him as an asset. And I just feel like the Pittsburgh Steelers organization has overall just completely failed the guy on a career scale. So I'm really disappointed that that's the way TJ's 2025 campaign is going to end.
It sucks. As you were saying that, I was just thinking most of the best edge rushers in the NFL right now have been failed by their organizations. Myles Garrett failed to the utmost degree. Max Crosby failed by incompetence. Trey Hendrickson failed by incompetence around him. Obviously, Micah has been on winning teams. Unfortunate end of the season for them. He's in a good situation now, but a lot of these guys who so many contending teams would be frothing at the mouth to get, would give up huge assets to get, have instead kind of just been wasting away in these subpar situations. TJ at least has been in the playoffs, of course, because the Steelers are contractually obligated to make the wild card round and then lose, dude. I was just looking at their last 5 years, Pro Football Reference. You just go year by year. It's the Mona Lisa, man. It's the pinnacle of consistency in the NFL. Might be more impressive to stay at this level year after year than actually be great every year. Yeah,
I know a guy that has predicted that exact opposite thing to happen for 5 straight years.
No, not the exact opposite thing. I'll predict them to win 8 games, and then
no. Let's not do this. Not 8 games, 8 games. You pick them to finish under 500.
Yeah, because I think the last 2 years I have because I think well, if you look, they've always got a negative point differential. Their offense. I believe it. I believe it. that I've done it for 3 straight years. You're right, because I keep thinking, they're so mid. I'm not going to pick them to be a winning team because I don't know. There are teams that I'm more excited about, teams that have more upside. I think regression is due to hit them. And then
at the end of every year, we always go, "Oh fuck, they did it again." Yep.
It's incredible, dude. It's one of my favorite things every season at this point. Just get into the place where you think, man, the Steelers are so mid, but here they are. They're going to be in the playoffs yet again. They've done it yet again, and they have done it in more impressive fashion than recent years. I mean, they're at 90% playoff probability now, so they're almost a lock. They beat the Browns and they're in, or they beat the Ravens. And you got to give props to Aaron Rodgers and the running backs, which have been the bright spots of this offense for a lot of the year. The running backs as pass catchers, but Rodgers being more of a stabilizing force at quarterback. Yeah.
We didn't even talk about DK slugging a fan.
No, I wanted to get there. I was going to get to that before we wrap up. We will. But real quick, Warren had a great game. Kenneth Gainwell was so good. I mean, as a runner, but also incredible touchdown at the end of the half, which totally changed the game.
Been awesome this year, bro.
He has. He really has. But Rodgers, I just thought, was consistently on time and accurate. He was great situationally, 3rd and 4th down money. He was really good under pressure, mostly just by getting rid of that ball quickly. I mean, the timing on that outbreaking route, that 3rd and long that it was, right, that he converted. No, to DK is the one I'm thinking about on the left sideline. That was just such perfect anticipation, ball placement, and also just a great play by DK. DB couldn't see it, so he located it. But Rodgers was in his bag today. He was quite good.
He was. Those 2 plays to Scotty were really big. That scramble on 3rd down that made it 4th and short and gave Tomlin the green light to go for it. Rodgers is just – I love him, man. I think he is I just think he's a damn good quarterback, man, and he's such a fucking step up from the trash we've had, man. I am so grateful that Aaron Rodgers has graced the Steelers with his presence.
That's your Christmas gift, dude. That and another Steelers playoff appearance. It is a wonderful, whimsical.
We can get our ass kicked by Buffalo, baby.
Dude, I'm actually so happy. I'm so ready for the Steelers-Bills 4-5 matchup. Oh, I just can't wait for that. What did you make of the whole DK situation?
Oh, I don't know. My boy Mark texted and he goes, yeah, guys, he said, I just got back to my apartment. He goes, DK just punched a fan. I said, what? I turned on the TV and
sure enough,
I guess he had to be shit talking DK. I'm a very anti-assaulting fans kind of guy. I'm very anti.
And that's a radical position.
Punching the fans. First of all, they paid to be in the stadium. I don't know. Like, don't get me wrong, man. If the guy said some heinous shit to DK, maybe I'll take DK. If he like spit on him or something, sure. I do want to hear like what the guy did, because I can't assume DK did that unprovoked. There is probably some sort of mental disease that accompanies signing with the Steelers as a wide receiver that just makes you go bonkers. But I had to think that he was provoked, because that's just unacceptable, man. I mean, come on, bro.
Yeah, it's hard to speculate because we don't know what was said. I will say this. He is definitely going to get suspended, at least for a game. He threw a punch at a fan.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane he didn't get ejected from this game and that they missed it, but like that is the biggest no-no from a league perspective that there is. Obviously, we know what the Malice at the Palace did for the NBA, and like that is as bad as it gets. From their position, obviously, it's not going to make any difference what that guy said. They're never going to have any sort of leniency towards a player throwing a punch at a fan. They just have to full stop be like, that's the worst thing you can do. For me, though, I do completely reject the idea that fans should just be able to say whatever they want with impunity. Like if that guy said something truly heinous, something offensive, disgusting, like I'm not saying that DK can throw a punch at him, obviously, but I'm also not going to go and call DK the devil, because it's like there are some things that if a person says them to you.
Oh,
like,
I thought you were saying you were saying they could say whatever they wanted.
No. I'm saying I totally reject the idea that they should be able to say whatever they want with impunity, because there are some people who are like acting as though players aren't human beings. Exactly. Oh, because I'm a paying customer, I can say the most disgusting things ever to this guy who's 10 feet away from me. Like he's not going to hear. Like he has to be some sort of celestial angel who's not going to respond to me, the filthy freak, the adult man wearing my blue wig. It's like, just have some human decency. And we don't know if that guy did or not. He probably didn't. DK threw a punch at him. He probably deserved it, but DK still can't do that, obviously.
Yeah, and I like banter and heckling and like, busting a guy's balls, but there is crossing the line. And DK's never done something like that, so I got to think there had to be something behind that. And I will say DK I think of the footage, like he ends up I don't know if he makes contact with the guy. He ends up opening his fist through it still. I mean, like you swung
it's a
on the
nuanced
guy.
Distinction, yeah.
You swung on the guy, bro. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, that does kind of open a little bit of the window for the Browns to maybe have a shot next.
It does.
One, the Browns could always beat us because the Steelers just aren't that good, and I kind of feel like the Steelers are so shitty that they could lose to any team on any given day, and yet they have enough talent where they could just about beat anybody on a given day. I think the Rams and the Seahawks.
Except in the playoffs.
Yeah, in the playoffs, of course. In the regular season, though, they're aces. So that does make a little bit of a difference, and I think it should make a decent difference in like some of the lines and stuff going into that game. I'll still take Pittsburgh.
They're going to have no vertical passing game without it.
That's kind of the big concern, man. Our number one is now going to be 43-year-old Adam Thielen.
Get ready for Aaron Rodgers going 20 for 27 with 162 passing yards, 145 of them to running backs and tight ends. That's my prediction.
I was going to say Kenneth Gainwell will have 60 of them.
Yep. But that might be enough to get a win against the Browns. Let's move on from this controversial game to what was a big game. In fact, in terms of the record on paper, the biggest of the weekend and the biggest win of the season for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Logan, who upset the Denver Broncos on the road. And we call it an upset, but they are now only one game back of the 1 seed themselves at 11-4. How impressed are you by Jacksonville after this performance?
I'm really impressed by Jacksonville, and I had gradually gotten on the Broncos train, so I felt bad hopping off and not picking them. But I really did think about Jacksonville in this game with just the run that they've been on. Like
you and me both, brother.
They've been playing some damn good football, and T-Law has got to be the big story out of this one. I mean, T-Law has been playing damn near flawless football, I feel like, over these past 3 weeks to a month. He's got 4 TDs, 0 turnovers in this game, and over 300 or just about 300 total yards. This receiving core has gotten about as healthy as they've been all season long, and I think it's made a meaningful difference. Like, and the big thing to me, this is the stretch of the season where Trevor has been playing in this system long enough to where, like, I think he's getting it. And if he's figuring it out with Liam Cohen, I might be shaking in my boots a little bit if I'm playing the Jaguars,
man.
I know you tweeted this out, and you actually texted Theo a little bit about it too. He had him up at 12. There is just stuff, like he was saying on our episode, that T-Law is capable of doing.
Yep.
And I want to believe, man. I said it during our show. I said it on our show that T-Law hadn't shown it enough to me consistently. And then over these past couple of weeks, he's been on a tear since that show. Like, I believed in Trevor Lawrence so much as a prospect. I thought he was one of those can't-miss guys. He was the prince that was promised, and I have felt so burnt and betrayed by the fact that he hasn't figured it out. But damn, do I just want to be back in all the way, man. Like, he played, I thought, almost flawless football today. He was on time, he was on target, and he was making quick decisions. That's one of the bigger things, too, about T-Law that I've liked, man. He's always had the physical traits. He is reading the field. He is making quick decisions. He's getting rid of that ball, and the offense is humming. And the Jags are just really balanced, man. I really like the balance that Jacksonville has. And so, Jacksonville hasn't done it consistently enough this season for me to say that they are top 5, but they're a good football team, and I think they're legit. And T-Law has just impressed me, man. I'm blown away.
I gotta say, man, as a huge Jags advocate, believer, preseason, picked them to win the division, picked Liam Cohen to win Coach of the Year, picked Trevor Lawrence to win Comeback Player of the Year. I've always been high on them, but when they were sitting at 5-4, I was with you in the sense that, like, yeah, they're good, but they're not consistent enough. And I just think there were a lot more sort of cracks in their resume at that point. Now I feel like for 6 weeks, this is a team that has been quite consistent, especially these past 4 weeks as the passing game has really come together. They are very balanced and talented and well coached across the board. And with Trevor Lawrence playing like this, they can win the AFC. Like, I thought this said way more about Jacksonville than it did Denver. I think there was some stuff with Denver that is worthy of criticism, but it was more so just a better team dogging them for 4 quarters. And there's just not that many teams that could do that to Denver with all the talent that they have. Trevor Lawrence is the story here. Last 4 weeks, 270 passing yards per game, almost 9 yards per attempt, 121 passer rating, 12 passing touchdowns with no picks. And he's giving you another 28 rushing yards per game. And he's got 2 rushing touchdowns. The thing with T-Law has always been he's got all the ability in the world, but he's been so inconsistent in terms of putting it all together in these different ways. If it's accuracy, decision-making, awareness, he can reach these great highs where he just has rare physical gifts, and then he can also have these frustrating lows. He's just putting it all together right now. I mean, he is in complete control game after game over the last month, drive after drive, play to play. He's just playing like one of the elite guys. Like, he's got all the physical tools, size, frame, mobility, arm talent, and he's making the most of it right now. Like, one of my favorite things about T-Law is his pocket presence. I just think he approaches the game like one of the elite pocket passers in the sense that his pocket footwork is really good. He's so sturdy in there. He hangs in there, and he's just scanning the field, processing quickly, making good decisions, and just ripping intermediate throws. He can manipulate defenders.
Well, I mean, T-Law can do that.
Lasers.
He's so damn big. You don't have to move to change any of these passing angles. Like, that's the appeal of one of those guys is, we always say it here, turret. You can only be a turret if you can make all those throws over the top. And, he can.
But the thing is, he also really can move. And, like, we've
I'm not saying, I'm just saying that, like, you just have to meet, like, there's some guys that have to slide to find passing angles. T-Law doesn't.
No, he can see everything, but he really is such a good mover. And, like, we've seen the effectiveness of that pickup even more if it's like designed runs, short yardage situations. He had a big 3rd down pickup on a read option where he kept it. He had another rushing touchdown where they were on the 1, but then he also had a big scramble on 3rd and 8. Like, he's been one of the better rushing quarterbacks this season. And he's just making good decisions. He has some beautifully placed throws into tight windows. I really do think his accuracy in these recent weeks is the best that we've seen it from him. And also, he hasn't had like these crippling drop problems from his receivers that he always has had to deal with in his career that has lowered his completion percentage. But like that first touchdown throw to Parker Washington, dude, I mean, there is no window there. He puts that ball in the only spot it can be. And shout out to Parker Washington. He really balled out too. And shout out also to just the entirety of this receiving room and how that's come together as T-Law has surged. Like, it's no coincidence at all. That Jacoby Myers trade was a home run. He is like one of the most reliable intermediate over the middle of the field receivers that there is. Brenton Strange coming back, really good pass catcher for them. BTJ getting back from his injury and just being steadier than he was earlier in the year. It's not even that like he's involved in the offense a ton. Like Jacoby Myers is their number one, and it's really not close. But BTJ isn't having like those brutal drops that he was early in the year. And also now having a guy who's willing to run those routes over the middle, take those hits that like BTJ was just so in his head about, it's opened up what is really T-Law's greatest strength as a passer, I would say, which is ripping those exact throws. So I think Theo cooked with having him at number 12. Like when we had that conversation, I was halfway in. I mean, I've always been a T-Law optimist, and I was like, man, we're seeing it pick up. He does have these really good stretches, but now seeing him do it for another couple weeks where it's like, okay, A+ performances these last 2 weeks, I just think you really are seeing everything coalesce. He's more comfortable with the system. He finally has good receivers who he has good chemistry with, and he's playing at a really high level individually.
I could move him up to 17.
That's the highest you can go? No, I mean, you had Baker at 16. He's been way better than Baker.
Oh no, actually, yeah, I could move him to 16. But I'm looking at guys.
He's a lot more consistent than Caleb in terms of just like pocket presence, accuracy, processing.
Caleb plays that sexy football, man.
T-Law plays sexy football. T-Law does shit that is like, oh yeah, that's why that guy was a generational prospect. He's 6'6" and moves like that and can throw like that.
Makes me feel different, man.
Who on a drive-to-drive basis is just more consistently going to generate positive plays? Trevor Lawrence, man.
Oh my god,
that was incredible. That was incredible. You see some of the throws that T-Law's made these last few weeks?
Fuck T-Law, man. Caleb do that. 80 yards, rope, frozen rope, bro. Oh my god, that made me jump out my seat, bro.
T-Law makes me jump out of my seat, man. T-Law makes a lot of really high-level plays.
Caleb makes me aroused, man.
Okay, I understand. That's very clear by your protruding erection.
Actually, no, I could bump T-Law to 15. The two guys that never mind. I'll go back to I'll go back to.
You change your story like the seasons, man. Get it together.
I'm trying to think. I just couldn't have him above Goff. Even though I have my criticisms of Goff, it's like Goff has consistently generated good regular season offenses, and I've just seen it with Goff more than I have with. Look, man, I like T-Law. He's been on a great month-long stretch. Like Darnold's had 2 damn good seasons.
Yeah, I'd have Darnold above him. And I'd also have Goff above him, by the way. But like, I think there's an argument for T-Law just because of the mobility factor.
I think so too. But I'm saying that 12 is still a little high. I see the vision. I see the talent. And who knows? Maybe T-Law will just kick ass, these next 2 weeks, month, goes on a crazy playoff run. And maybe at the end of the season, we'll go, damn. Theo really did cook. Maybe he's top 10. I don't know where we're going to be at the end of the season, and a lot can change over the next month in playoffs. But I'm just, you know what I mean? It's a really good run right now. If he puts it together through the rest of the season, maybe I can bump him higher. But a little better than the 16th quarterback seems about right for T-Law for me.
I think he's got to be top half. I looked today. I think he's 4th in MVP odds right now, which, like, to be fair, it's very long odds. The books basically have it as like a 2-man race now between Maye and Stafford after Allen had a very quiet game today. But right now, if you took this last month, he's playing at like a fringe top 10 level. Overall, I'd probably have him somewhere in like the 13-14 range, like him against CJ. I think he's been playing better over this last month than CJ. We have seen more good stuff from CJ overall, although like both these guys have similar elements of like clearly having a lot of talent and potential, but the numbers don't always reflect it because they've both been in really bad situations in their own ways. And earlier in this year, I felt like T-Law was complicit in some of the inconsistencies of the Jags passing game. And now I just feel like he was getting screwed by receiver drops early in the year. And he's also just playing so much better. And he can just put together these stretches with a combination of poise, athleticism, size, arm talent. Like I said, I do think his accuracy has been good in this recent stretch that just not a lot of guys can replicate. And when you put a team around him that is sneakily, maybe not so sneakily now, because this is a win that'll wake everybody up, very complete. Their defense is good. They're a great unit in terms of forcing takeaways. They can get timely pressure. They've got obviously a big time pass rusher in Josh Hines-Allen, like we saw it in the second half today, where they started getting home a little bit more, getting up in Bo's face. They're a good pass defense overall, really improved secondary from last year. They're a good run defense, and they've just cleaned things up. The passing game has been so much more consistent. Penalties were an issue for them early in the year. They've played much cleaner on that front overall during this win streak, and you just can't ignore how impressive this football is right now. They've won 6 straight, and in that stretch, they destroyed the Chargers, who at the time it looked like, okay, maybe they're just melting down. Now the Chargers have been beating everybody. They've been beating good teams. The Jags beat them 35-6. They blew out 3 pretty shitty teams, but blowouts are blowouts, right? Not everybody in the NFL is capable of that, much less one week after another. And they just manhandled the Broncos today. And now when they've got a quarterback playing at this like actual high level, there's just no holes with this team. So I want to apologize to the Jags, even as somebody who, again, has been a huge advocate for theirs. They were my first team off of our top 10 contenders this week because I was like, yeah, they're pretty good, but there are just teams who I feel more confident in. They've got an elite this, they've got an elite that. And now I look at the totality of what the Jags are doing, and I'm like, they're kind of just a wagon. They're a really good football team, and there's nobody who is safe from them in the AFC. Like, obviously, when we talk about the AFC playoffs this year, it's a lot of anybody can get got on any given day, and anybody can get you on any given day. But the Jags are like closer to the top of that mix than they are a team that I expect to get bounced in the first round. It's all going to depend on matchup, but they're playing some of the most impressive all-around football in the conference and in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's dependent on T-Law if he keeps at this level on how legit they are. If we get T-Law from the first 4 weeks, they're going to get bounced. We get T-Law that's been playing football like he has during the last 4 weeks, they'll advance. I think it's pretty
He knows
simple.
where the line of scrimmage is now, and
Yeah,
he can't go past it by
Yeah.
several yards and just launch the ball. That's huge. And that's kind of the biggest.
That's really the big. Yeah, that was really my
That's what was
biggest
holding
gripe
him
with him.
back.
I can't lie, man.
He just made some of those like T-Law, what the fuck kind of plays. But again, there's always been the highs. And now I'm just looking at it and I'm like, yeah, that's 4 quarters of highs, man. It's very impressive stuff. How about the Denver side of this? Because they come into this one, they're on an 11-game win streak. They're the talk of the town. They just had a signature win over Green Bay. What went wrong for them in this one?
The boner shriveled up, man. Spotlight got a little too big for him, man. He got a little stage fright.
Sure. And it happens to all of us, and it's actually really common among men, which is going to get us right into our sponsor, Cialis.
Yep. Use it every day.
Yep.
My favorite product.
Before every show.
Yep. Right now. I just thought about Caleb Williams.
Boom! That's natural Cialis,
just like
baby.
that. Just like that. Yeah, I thought the boner had a little bit of performance anxiety today. Happens to the best of us. Honestly, like I don't want to beat a dead horse, and I hate boiling games down really to this. I did think QB play was huge in this one. Like I thought Bo played pretty damn bad. Inaccurate. He had one play that I thought they could have converted. What was it? He had a decent ball on. It's not going to make the end of the world. He had a nice throw where he had to scramble out of the pocket that I thought. I think a Broncos receiver dropped a TD or something like that.
Are you thinking about the Sutton throw?
Was it a TD?
That was tough. Remember. I mean, that was impressive. He got that off at that arm angle, but like, you cannot call that a drop.
He did put a little mustard on that.
Yeah,
it was a little. It was like a foot off. Yeah, I thought it was a good throw by Bo. Like, I just thought the Broncos had a lot of missed opportunities in this one. Obviously, the 2 turnovers from Bo, the fumble lost, and the pick. Some drives that just stall out really short, 3-and-outs, 4-and-outs, and you have a missed field goal. Like, they just didn't pull their weight. But I just thought the way Jacksonville played against that defense was so impressive. Like, I have not seen a team this year do that to the Denver defense.
They just picked them apart, dude. That's what I'm saying. T-Law is just carving teams up right now. I do think most of this for Denver is honestly On the offense, like, yes, the defense wasn't as disruptive as they normally were, but like you said, I just thought the Jags offense was really good. It is worth monitoring that, like, the Denver defense hasn't been as dominant in recent weeks. Like, they came up clutch against the Packers, but the Packers did put up 26. They moved the ball a lot. I thought their defense was underwhelming against Washington. And again, their defense got really handled by the Jags today. So I still think they're a great defense. Obviously, that goes without saying. I don't think they're Houston on that side of the ball. Like, Houston is the team we've seen go up against elite offenses and stifle them and have them in hell. And Denver just hasn't been putting together those caliber of performances lately. But I wouldn't even say that Bo was bad in this game necessarily. I would say he was quite mediocre. I think he put up yardage. It's about as bad as a 350 passing yard game can be. Like, he hit on a couple explosives. Nice fadeaway throw, touchdown versus the blitz. That was nice, just anticipating the pressure there, knowing where his receiver was going to be. He hit on one deep shot to Franklin that was a nice ball. You saw some of that ability to extend plays where he was really impressive last week, but he was just so inconsistent, play to play, drive to drive. And I really think the biggest issue with Bo is probably his inaccuracy. He's one of the least accurate quarterbacks in football, and just so many misses today, like so many misses. And another thing that can turn south with Bo is when he gets shaky in the pocket. And that happened today as well. I thought that he was bailing at times when he shouldn't have. I also thought he made a really bad decision on that pick. That was ugly. Situationally, bad awareness when he went out of bounds on that 3rd and 3 instead of throwing it away and lost 7 yards. He tried to throw it away, but he'd already stepped out. Like, you can't cut it that close to the sideline, and that totally screwed them for 4th down. And then he lost the fumble on the weird botched handoff. Like, there were a lot of bad moments from him in this one. It was not a good performance, and this is why one great game from Bo can't totally move me. Like, when this is a quarterback who has been sporadic, who has had a lot of issues this year, an offense that has been inconsistent and mostly mediocre throughout this year, what they did against Green Bay was super impressive, and I gave them all the credit for that. But it also didn't just change my expectation for Denver's offense to say, oh yeah, this is who they are now. Realistically, I think offensively they are closer to what we saw today. I think they are an average offense, and there is still some more that I need to see out of Denver. Like, this is the stretch of the schedule I was really looking to earlier in the year when they were kind of skating by close wins against some shitty teams. I was like, let's see how they handle Green Bay, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Chargers. Kansas City obviously is now as bad as anybody, so forget about that one. But they are 3-3 versus teams that are currently 500 or better. They're just 9th overall in point differential, which is good, but not as good as their record. Like, I do think Denver is very good. They're probably going to be the number 1 seed, but I do want to see how that Chargers game goes in week 18. And I do still think they're vulnerable because of quarterback play in like a significant way. They're the most talented team in the AFC, and they are also the team that is going to be in the playoffs with by far the biggest question mark at quarterback. And that is significant. And that did come back to bite them in this one.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I still do think Denver's the most talented team in the AFC, though, top to bottom. Elite offensive line, elite defense, great pass rush, been elite against the run this year.
It's insane. They're at like 62 sacks this year now. They're outpacing the second team by like at least 15, I think.
The one thing that I really do still like about this offense, though, is, I mean, they have got playmakers, man. I feel like there's just so many little, like, big play threats on this team. If it's, you get the ball in Marvin Mims' hands, and he is a problem to go and do something big. If you get the ball in RJ Harvey's hands, and he is just a problem to break out and make something happen. If you get the ball in Troy Franklin's hands, like, he is a dynamic guy. Cortland Sutton is an awesome contested catch guy downfield. Like, there's still a lot of playmakers here in Denver that help bring Bo along, and, like, that's why I think Denver could potentially win a playoff game or two without it being on the shoulders of Bo really carrying them through. Like, that's the strength of this team, is that they are super talented everywhere and that they don't really fully have to rely on him. But I still do fundamentally agree with you. I'm probably going to drop Denver a little bit, not too much. I still think Denver's very, very talented. And I think if they can impose their will defensively on a team and control games that way, that's their best recipe. But I think you see it in this one when they can't do that, when that defense is really kind of getting it served. I don't really trust the offense to bounce back in a big way. Like this game script, because I know we've been talking about this a lot. A guy like Josh
How they
Allen, a guy
lose.
like Drake Maye, a guy like Justin Herbert. I wholeheartedly trust anybody like that to get me back in a game like this where you need to score quick. And this is the game script that you worry about Denver in, is if they got to come back from behind a couple scores and make stuff happen. So I don't fundamentally feel that different about Denver, but I do think you see if they're going to lose in the playoffs, this is probably how it's going to be.
48 dropbacks for Bo Nix versus 13 handoffs. That's a bad formula for them. Absolutely. That's just too much on Bo's plate. He's just too inconsistent in all these different ways. So there's been a lot of people who are just acting like Denver is the clear top dog in the AFC. I just can't get there when I have concerns this significant about your quarterback. I think they're good enough. They're talented enough. The defense is good enough that, yeah, they could be the team that makes the run, but they're not my number one favorite. And they are very much in that clump of teams in the AFC that we're talking about. But also, this doesn't fundamentally change my view of Denver. Like, I've known that they're capable of a performance like this. This is what happened. We still haven't seen them again in that many games against very good teams. And so it was telling. But like I said, I thought it was more so just a testament to what Jacksonville is doing right now. Let's talk about another big cat, Logan. From the Jags to the Panthers, the race to the top of the NFC South. How high can they climb, Logan? 8-7. The Carolina Panthers are now out in front, and they got into that position by getting a huge divisional win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Where do you want to start with this one, man? Is it praise for the Panthers, or is it shitting on the Bucs for this disastrous slide?
Dude, I don't know what to do with either of these teams.
Pick them to lose in the first round by 2 whoever they play.
You know, I like that. That's a great call. I actually think I'm going to do that.
Don't overthink it beyond that. They both suck.
I am so disappointed in Tampa Bay, and yet I'm not surprised. This was the second game. I said that I wanted to pick against Denver. I wanted to pick against Tampa Bay. I had a weird gut feeling when we were doing game picks that I was like, Tampa Bay is on this ugly skid. Like, they just don't have... There is such a thing as momentum, and I think the Bucs are just on this just downward trajectory where, I mean, especially that gut punch against Atlanta, like that seemed like that was going to be their last gasp. We're either going to make the playoffs with this game or not, and you choke like that to Kirko Chains.
The thing is, they keep getting a last gasp. They're going to have another one. Like, week 18, they're still going to be playing for the division, but they keep on choking, dude. Yeah,
and I just think that's what this team is, man. I think this team has lost their mojo. I think they have lost their swag. I don't have numbers to throw at you. I'm just going off their vibes, man. I think the Tampa Bay vibes are horrible. I think Dave Canales came up with a brilliant game plan. I love Dave Canales. That's one of my biggest takeaways from this season is I just think that Dave Canales is a guy that I'm in on. I think he's a really good coach. That when you have a team, and I don't want to just dunk on the Panthers because we have not been Panthers advocates. I'm sure Panthers fans, if you exist and you're listening to this podcast, have been disappointed at how we've talked about them this year. But I don't think the Panthers are that talented. And I don't think the Panthers have been that talented this year. And when you get a team to overperform like this, albeit, easy schedule, bad division, whatever, when a team overachieves like this, I have to heap praise upon the coach, and I just think Dave Canales is brilliant, and he gets it. And I don't know what to do with Bryce, man. Bryce is the most befuddling quarterback. One of the most befuddling quarterbacks I've ever watched. One week,
gonna praise the boner, even if maybe it's been
I'm gonna give him props, but it's like
clutch stuff.
That's what I'm saying is,
in terms of like performance patterns, they kind of have a lot in common. Where it's like, that's not so good, but then there's been a drive this year where like they deliver.
My thing is Bryce will have the worst turnover you've ever seen, and then he'll come back and he will beautifully place a ball where only his receiver can get it, and he just turns it around. So I don't know, man. Bryce is befuddling to me. The Panthers are confusing, but Dave Canales is a beast, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have lost all their sauce, man. They have lost all of their aura, dude. Tampa Bay's cooked.
Are you going to say it out loud and hold Baker accountable?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Baker's not been good this year, dude. Baker's been a bottom half quarterback this season. No doubt. I mean, like the first 5 weeks were cool. They were inflated even because that's we're calling him the MVP. He has been bad.
Dude, you're talking about you don't have numbers. You're just going off the vibes. I'll bring the numbers. They're every bit as ugly. Last 7
I don't
games, the
want to
Bucs
talk
are
about it.
1-6. Well, we have to, Logan. We have to start a conversation. Baker Mayfield is averaging 175 passing yards per game, 5.9 yards per pass attempt, with a 79 passer rating in that span. He's been outplayed by Bryce Young, Tyler Shuck, and Kirk Cousins in the last 3 weeks. All of them games where you could be like, season on the line. Okay, grab hold of the division, Tampa. And he's been bad in all of them. He's had devastating fourth quarter interceptions in back-to-back weeks now. Like, every criticism about Baker Mayfield has not only been valid, it has been hugely problematic. And if we're going to circle back to the quarterback rankings we did a couple weeks ago, giving Theo props for the T-Law love, having Baker at number 23, I mean, it's still a little bit too low for me, but everything that he held against him has been really, really bad with Baker. His pocket presence has been erratic. His accuracy has been erratic. The offense just has felt chaotic with him at the helm. And obviously, everything around him has regressed, right? By a combination of injuries, brain drain. You lose Liam Cohen, that's a once-in-a-generation kind of genius. And sex symbol, okay? That's going to hurt you. Josh Grizzard, he doesn't have that sort of moxie. He doesn't have that sort of brain. Also, obviously, weapons being injured, offensive line being banged up. The run game hasn't been the same at all compared to what it was last year. But that doesn't excuse this. This is a 7-game stretch of really bad football from the quarterback of the team that was completely in the driver's seat to win one of the worst divisions in NFL history. We're talking about them up against the 2014 NFC South that the 7-8-1 Panthers won, the 2010 NFC West, where I think it was the Seahawks who went 7-9 and won that division. That is how bad this NFC South is. The Bucs are the team that has been in the playoffs year after year. They've been atop the division. And even with the injuries, they were supposed to have the most reliable quarterback play, the most reliable offense, just the most talent as a football team. And I really do think Baker has been the biggest problem in this recent stretch. It is just really, really bad quarterback play and bad football overall from them. But come on, dude. You keep being given lifelines, and they're going to be given more lifelines because they play somebody shitty this week, and then it's back to Carolina. And if they win that game, they win the division still because Carolina's about to get 20-pieced by Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to go to bat here with Baker other than the fact that I still think he's hurt. I don't think Baker's been healthy for 4 weeks now. I think he's playing through another shoulder injury, a la the way he was in his last season in Cleveland. So I do think it's important to mention that. They haven't put him on the injury report. I just think that when I watch Baker, I think he's still hurt. Along with that, and I'm not saying this to cut any slack, I think all of these losses are inexcusable. And I want to be clear about that. I think, like you're saying, Tampa Bay has had an opportunity to not only win all of these games, but put them away in decisive fashion, and they haven't every step of the way. So it's on Tampa Bay. It's on Baker. They need to wear it. I'm just adding these things for context. A lot of the season, they have been missing 3 starting linemen, if it's Mach, if it's Gedeke, if it's Bredesen, if it's Wirfs. So they've had kind of musical chairs for a lot of this season at the offensive line spot. They've had multiple running backs injured, if it's Bucky Irving, if it's Rashad White. They've had multiple wideouts out, if it's Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. The only reason I say this is because Baker is such a polarizing player, and we always talk about quarterbacks. Baker deserves criticism, and Baker has not played good football. The only thing I do want to add here is that it's not just him. The Bucs have had a lot of injuries and moving parts on offense that a lot of it is on Baker. It's not all on Baker.
I agree with you there, but for them to go from what they were last year, I mean, a top 3 offense, super efficient running and throwing the football, to 25th in yards per drive this year, 18th in points per drive. That's coming into today when they laid another stinker. It's just brutal. And when we talk about the most disappointing teams this season, they've got to be at the top of the list.
The defense has regressed too. The offense has definitely taken a step back. The defense has regressed as well.
But the offense was carrying last year. It's the offense that was elite. The defense was just okay. For the offense to go from elite to bad, they are a bad offense, especially these last 7 weeks. They've been a very bad offense. It is immensely disappointing. Shout out to Dave Canales. I completely agree with you. I think he is probably the most important person in the Panthers organization right now, and one of the most important in their turnaround. Like, he's an outside coach of the year candidate. It's probably going to go to, I hope, my darling baby boy, Liam Cohen or Kyle Shanahan or Ben Johnson, one of these guys, over Mike Vrabel. You know, when Mike Vrabel did that bullshit going for it on fourth today, that's when I said, you are such a Drake Maye merchant. You are such a Drake Maye and schedule merchant in your coach of the year case. These other guys are just smarter and they're better than you. I don't think Vrabel's bad. I just don't think he's as good as these other guys. But I did not think the Panthers were going to be 8-7, even though they're still like 20 something in point differential. And I do think like they've kind of been cannon fodder for some of the really good teams. Now, obviously, they've also had a couple of really good wins this year, but I do think about like my expectations for them going up against Seattle. I think they're going to get crushed. The Bills beat them like 40-7. The Patriots beat them like 42-13. Like, there have been games where they look straight up like a bottom feeder against the elite teams. And yet here they are, a game above 500. And also props to Bryce Young, because this was his 6th game-winning drive of the year. I believe in all but 2 of his career wins, he's led a game-winning drive. Obviously, the Panthers don't win a lot of games comfortably. Man. Isn't that nuts?
Holy
like,
shit.
He has just made some clutch plays, and especially in contrast to Baker, who repeatedly in the big spots this year has just failed when you look at this recent stretch. Like, that play that Bryce made on the touchdown to go up 20-17, like evading that pass rush or that cutback, that was such an athletic move. And then he kept his eyes up downfield, knew exactly where he wanted to go with the football. Like, that was a legit creation play. Beautiful placement on that touchdown to Tet. That's his strength, obviously, is like when accuracy, he is protected, the ball placement, especially on like those high arcing touch throws, it's really good. I'm not going to sit here and say that Bryce is good, but Bryce has been good enough. And I think especially in the spots that have kind of, I think the season for them.
I think Tet's my big takeaway of any
Tet's
player
great.
from them. Tet's a number 1 in this league. Tet's a superstar. He reminds me so much every game of AJ Green. Like, I just think Tet is going to be a perennial Pro Bowler. And I'm going to be mean however I say this. I'll just say it. I think Tet makes Bryce a lot. Like, Bryce has gotten better. I think Bryce can read a defense. I think Bryce is accurate. And has shown a little bit more of that creation like you're talking about. Tet's the freaking man. And I think that's the kind of archetype of receiver that you need to put around Bryce. And I think they've done a really good job. You know, a big, tall guy like Coker is well on this team, Jatavian Sanders. But Tet's the man, bro. I think he's such really good. A stud.
And obviously the run game is what's turned around the season for Carolina, them turning into like a really good rushing attack. But today was a day when they asked Bryce to make some really big plays, and he did. And he didn't have the sort of low lows that the quarterback opposite him did. The quarterback who coming into the year, everybody thought, yeah, that's the clear top dog in this division. And like, I just don't want to overlook that. I still don't think that Bryce is like a top 20 quarterback even, but I do think he is definitely above the tier of guys who are like inhibitively bad. And I do think for the physical limitations that he has, obviously, that are to some extent insurmountable, like he has improved a lot in terms of his ability to overcome that stuff and be like a functional starting quarterback for a solid offense. So I still think, yeah, they're going to get walloped this week. It's going to come down to the week 18 rematch. This is one of the worst divisions ever. And I honestly can't praise either team too much for that. But just like relative to expectations, the Panthers winning this shit show is a hell of a lot better than the Bucs somehow fumbling this shit show when like I thought the Panthers were going to be bad. I thought the Bucs were going to be good. And beyond that, the Bucs were sitting here at 6-2 going into their light stretch of the schedule. Like, it's just so bad. It's just so bad what we've seen from them this year. But you know what is so good, Logan? Justin freaking Herbert and what he did to the Dallas Cowboys. What did you take away from he and the Chargers picking up another big win today?
I mean, Herbert's superhuman. That's my big question coming out of this is who do I think is the front runner for MVP? I don't know. I am 50-50 at this point with Herbert.
I thought you said Maye. It was Drake Maye like an hour ago.
I know, but like those are the two guys. I said that like his case I thought was the best against him. Josh we'll get to the Bills in a little bit. I did not think Josh played a good game today. No. Just disappointed. I know he had the foot injury, which, you know, is important to mention because he did leave the game for a little bit, but like, and he dealt with it during the big stretch, but he didn't have a good game. So I think it comes down to Maye and Herbert. And again, it's just, And I know Stafford's definitely in there. I think Stafford's got such a bomb squad around him. I just don't think it's in like the I
He's
get it
got
because
so much more help. He also does have, just to make the case for him as somebody who has been making the case against him, he does have 4,200 passing yards and 40 touchdowns against 5 picks. And he
I was going to say,
pass
I think it depends on
8-point-something yards per attempt.
I think it depends on what you think is really in the spirit of the award.
I
don't mind either way you side. If your argument is best team in football, elite performance from arguably the best quarterback in football, okay, I understand your argument. I would say best team in football tax. I'm going to give it to the guy that I actually think.
And also, Stafford's not arguably the best quarterback in football.
I mean, I would say this season, you could argue it. That's what I'm saying.
I still think if you drop any of these other 3 guys in that situation, the Rams offense is actually even better because I do think they are fundamentally just better quarterbacks. It's mostly just an athleticism thing of dealing with pressure.
I mean, I couldn't confidently just say that just off. I mean, Stafford has played.
Okay, what if we inverted the situations? Could Matthew Stafford survive the season playing for the Chargers?
No, he'd die.
Right, he would literally die. Could he do what Drake Maye has done in terms of elevating that team with
he could be
subpar offensive line?
Oh no, I he would
game subpar receivers. That's the biggest thing. He's just dealing with pressure.
His dentures would probably get knocked out in the Patriots.
Like Stafford can just process, get rid of the ball pretty quickly because he's really smart, obviously. And he's got a really good arm. And he also has gods at receiver with a great offensive line, with a great run game, with a great coach. So I said I was going to make the case for him. I went back to making the case against him, but he might end up being my MVP. I honestly don't even want to talk about it at this point because last week I was like, ooh, now Josh has the case. And then now that Josh played such an underwhelming game today, I'm just like, let's see who takes it. My only take is there are 4 contenders right now who are all pretty close in my eyes.
Yeah, it's a fascinating race. I think it's better than last year with just how toxic and stupid it got. I'm glad it's a little more open with just more candidates. Like I just thought it got.
But the actual caliber of the MVP cases last year was literally.
I'm just saying the discourse is at least a little bit more fun to have. Last year it felt like we were pulling teeth talking about it, but Herbert's a monster. I really like this team. I think they've got some. If the Chargers had an offensive line, if they had any offensive line whatsoever, they would probably be my favorite in the AFC.
If they had
pretty clearly
2 tackles who happen to be on their roster.
Yeah, if they had 2 playable, caliber NFL tackles, I would probably take the Chargers and pretty confidently out of the AFC. They have got a stud at quarterback, Herbert, who delivers seemingly every week. They've got running backs that are dynamic, right? Hampton, I think, is the best of the bunch, but Vidal and Haskins can be serviceable whenever they need to step in. I like the receiving talent. Quentin Johnson has been balling this year. Keenan Allen is sturdy. McConkey's a beast. And then they've got a really well-coached defense, a defensive coordinator I love, and a head coach that I think is awesome. So, yeah. That's my take about the Chargers. Damn it, man. If they had 2, I really like LA, and I am just so... I don't know if the Chargers have any fans. Chargers fans, if you were out there, I feel for you. I'm sorry. Have you ever met? I've met one Chargers fan.
Yeah, I met one Chargers fan too, and it's probably the same guy, you and I, considering we went to college together and we knew the same guy who was a Chargers fan. But I think he actually even left them, if I'm not mistaken, because he was from San Diego and they left San Diego. So maybe there's not a lot of them. But Justin Herbert deserves fans. I'll tell you what, man, he should be converting a lot of people just because he's so electric. And I can't even be at a spot where I'm like, oh man, what if for this year, right? Because that's where I've been at. I've been like, oh my God, with Slater and Joe Alt, the Chargers would be a bona fide contender. They'd be a top 5 team. That's been my take over and over again. And now I'm just like, what if Justin Herbert is actually great enough and this defense is legitimately very good where they have as good a chance as anybody to make a run in this AFC? I'm not looking at them anymore as, oh, what a beautiful, incredible season Herbert is having to just keep scrapping their way to these wins. They keep beating good teams. 3 straight weeks, they've beaten the Chiefs, the Eagles, and now the Cowboys. They've got 2 more games, okay? If the Texans and the Broncos make their offense literally untenable because they get so much pressure against this offensive line, maybe that will be like the cold water being dumped on the Chargers and will come all the way back to earth. But right now, I'm just impressed every single week. I think there are very few players on the planet who can elevate an offense like Justin Herbert. I do think he's one of the top 4 quarterbacks in the NFL. And if we're ranking the best quarterbacks this season, purely off of performance in 2025, he's again in that top 4. He's got an argument to be the best just because he's been the most pressured. He's had clearly the least offensive help of any of these guys, even though his receivers are pretty good. Just that offensive line being so horrific and the run game, the running back production overall being so lacking. He's just pretty much a perfect talent. And this is why I've always been like, Justin Herbert is top 5. He is so underappreciated because there's just nothing he doesn't do at a high level, especially now that he's scrambling more this year. And I mean, had a monster scramble in this game. Like, this was one of the best quarterback performances of the season. This was an MVP kind of performance. It was the first time in a while that it felt like he hasn't been under ridiculous duress. And he just absolutely destroyed the Cowboys defense. I mean, a couple of ridiculous bombs to Quentin Johnston, who also made a couple great catches, but just like perfect ball placement, letting it rip all day long. He's responsible for 71% of the Chargers' total yards of offense this season. I think I incorrectly cited a stat last week where I saw somebody say 76%, and I should have double checked that because everybody's pushing agendas and everybody lies, or maybe they just miscalculated and they actually didn't account for sack yardage loss. You have to do that. But regardless, over 70%, that's as big a carry job as you can possibly have. And no, the Chargers aren't an elite offense. It's not possible for them to be an elite offense with what they have around him. The fact that they're like fringe top 10 in yards and points per drive, an elite third down offense, 11-4 with these 3 straight really good wins, like, it's so impressive. It should put him at least in the MVP conversation. He's not going to win. He's not going to have the numbers. However, for the nerds, for the Herbert appreciators, if they go out and they beat the Texans and the Broncos and he balls out, he might just have the best case, dude. I don't think that's going to happen, but he's absolutely like on my ballot in my top 4, one of the main contenders for this award because he's just doing so much to elevate this team. Also, shout out to Maye and Hampton getting back out there these last couple weeks, making an impact, because that's another thing. I mean, he was down both of his running backs for a lot of the year. Hampton is good, and so he's made the running game more efficient.
I'm there with the Chargers too, man. I think it's on the table.
It is.
I'm going to be honest.
Plus defense, plus really good kicker.
I'm gonna pick against the Chargers probably both the next 2 weeks. That's scary, fair. Man. That is
the Texans
scary.
And Broncos are great, and I would probably agree with you. I had both those teams higher in my contender rankings, but my point is, like, I had them at 10 last time that we did our contender rankings, which was literally last week, and maybe that's still the spot to have them, but the gap between them and 3, right? Whoever's your number 1 in the AFC, the Chargers can beat any of these teams because Justin Herbert is playing at that level and the defense has been quite good. Like, holding the Cowboys to 17 is no small feat. And they just had really good defensive performances against both Philly and Kansas City. It's just a good formula. It's a flawed football team, deeply flawed, but they are winning games like this repeatedly for a reason. They've got very bankably great stuff in a couple of hugely important areas, basically just quarterback and defense. For the Cowboys, look, I mean, their season's over. It already was, but they're 6-8-1 now. There was a stretch of the year where they got really exciting just because the offense has been so dynamic. And it looked like for a couple weeks after they made their trades, maybe the defense was actually going to be respectable, right? They brought in Quinnen Williams and bring in Logan Wilson and you get Overshown back from injury, but I just think those midseason additions actually didn't help their defense that much. They're allowing 35 points per game over their last 4 now.
I don't know. I mean, it made a
I think it's a marginal improvement.
Quinnen Williams was out with a neck injury and concussion. So I mean, like, I think
but it's the trend of recent weeks where they've just been.
Yeah, I mean, Diggs they still been missing some guys in the secondary. I mean, I don't think the Cowboys were ever going to leap up to like actually being in the playoffs or an actual contender. But I don't know. I like their in retrospect, like. I actually don't. I think I hated on the Cowboys midseason moves a little bit too much. Like, I think Quinnen Williams, honestly, at the price point, wasn't that bad. I think he's such a good defensive tackle when he's available. Like,
for sure, but it was never that. It was you have now
the fact that they
the
had
Micah trade into we moved up from a second-round pick to a first-round pick.
I agree.
That is the entire gain.
They had picked a direction,
not having to pay him the money, which you always should have paid him because he's worth it.
And then they paid a bunch of
ACL.
And then they paid a bunch of other people on defense money. And yeah, I mean,
their defense isn't as good as it would have been with just Micah.
Look,
but again,
the
maybe
Cowboys
Jerry's on his crystal ball. Maybe he cursed him voodoo and said, "You will tear your ACL, and Packers, you are all damned to hell."
I mean, look, the Cowboys are going to suck until Jerry Jones is in the dirt. We've known this for a while now. So they're shitty. The Cowboys are shitty, and their franchise is whack.
Well, there you went from saying that maybe you hated on them a bit too much at midseason to just saying they should basically cease to exist.
No, when Jerry leaves, the Cowboys will be good. When Jerry's gone, well, no, then his idiot son Steven will probably take over, and then they'll still suck. But maybe if he's gone too, maybe get all the Jones out. The Cowboys could figure it out.
We've got a lot more games to talk about. We are actually going to go back to a couple of special games that we saw earlier this week before we kind of run rapidly through the shitty ones today. But first, some very quick words from our friends over at Rocket Money. Guys, this episode is brought to you by Rocket Money, which might be very helpful for you because you might think you have a solid handle on your budget. Maybe your spreadsheet says you should have an extra $1,000 left over each month, but if your bank account isn't reflecting that, something's off. Rocket Money helps you track every dollar, uncover hidden spending, and take control of your finances.
Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money shows you all your expenses in one place, including subscriptions you forgot about. If you see a subscription you no longer want, Rocket Money will help you cancel it.
Rocket Money really is great for that. I've been using it, and it helped me find a couple subscriptions that I did not realize that I had that maybe I shouldn't talk about here. Maybe I'm not the proudest of. I think maybe Logan signed me up for them, but it really is a great tool to have, and it has saved users over $2.5 billion, including over $880 million in canceled subscriptions alone. Their 10 million members save up to $740 a year when they use all of the app's premium features.
Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/nerdsesh today. That's rocketmoney.com/nerdsesh.
rocketmoney.com/nerdsesh. rocketmoney.com/nerdsesh. I got to say real quick, we'll get to all the super chats at the end, but Dom Stern, shout out to you, man. This is the Chargers fan who we were referencing. Turns out he was in the chat. And he mentions a legend from Arizona State's Cronkite Journalism School, Nick Sports fan, who we omitted, who is also a Chargers fan. So shout out, that's two Chargers fans that are confirmed. Let's talk about the Packers, who may or may not have been cursed by Jerry Jones, but they've certainly been cursed by somebody with how this Saturday game went for them against the Bears, who got their revenge. Chicago now sitting at 11-4, Logan. How impressed were you by this win from them?
I'm all in on the Bears. I think the Bears have leaped to, I think, top 3 in maybe my NFC.
Wow. You're all in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much that is that I'm really high on the Bears are going to be in my top 10. I should have had them they were the first team I left off. I think I'd probably have them in over San Francisco. It's really close, but I really still like the Niners too. I think I would probably bump them, but
I wish we got to talk about them playing Big Phil. That's tomorrow. We got to wait. That's going to be oh so sweet, dude. Big Phil
tomorrow.
My goat.
But I've been moved. I've been moved by the Bears. I mean, this game was crazy. They should have lost it. Like, the circumstances in which they win this game were absolutely unreal. The onside kick where you get shades of the Seattle game, unbelievable. It happens twice to the same franchise in almost the exact same scenario where if you just recover an onside kick, the game is over. It's actually absurd. The odds of that blow my mind. But then the fact that Caleb immediately answered with a TD, and that throw in overtime is one of the greatest throws I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was
bar none. I lost my mind. I started jumping up and down like a kid on crack. I was going nuts.
Whoa.
I was going crazy.
Have you seen a lot of those?
Quite a few.
Maybe that's a you thing.
The Packers are still good, but considering the Bears got this game, Packers tie earlier in the season, like it kind of looks like to me with the Packers loss and the Lions loss and the Love injury, that the Bears are probably going to win the division. And I really like the running game. The defense has been a lot better over the back half of this season. Caleb has been really good in second halves. I know he has not been consistently great, and I'm still worried about his accuracy and consistency. But Caleb is so talented and can make every throw in the book and can just make all kinds of off-script, out-of-time plays. Like, The Bears belong in my top 10. I don't think they're going to be top 5, but I think they're going to be in the bottom 5, somewhere in that 6 to 10 range, and they belong, is what I'm getting at. I have just been moved by this complete stretch of football for the Bears, and as I've said all year long, shout out you guys. I'm so jealous that you have Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. But this is a team thing, man. It's not just Caleb and Ben, even though the ending of that game was crazy. And they've gotten healthy. Tremaine Edmonds is back. TJ Edwards is back. They were missing Jalen Johnson for a stretch of the year. They're getting healthy too. And that really matters in a big way for me with Chicago. So they're going to be in my top 10. And I like the way the Bears are trending.
Man, I like a lot about the Bears, especially big picture, because I think Ben
He's going to
Johnson
glaze
is
the
a
Packers.
franchise
He's going to
builder.
glaze the Packers.
How can I glaze the Packers? None of their best players are living anymore.
True.
They've all been vanquished to the dark realms. But I'm just not as moved by this Bears game as you are, maybe. I don't know. It feels to me like it kind of took a miracle for them to beat the Packers with no Jordan Love, no Micah Parsons, no Tucker Kraft, obviously. Look, it was incredibly clutch stuff from Chicago. They had 3 points through 3 quarters, and then they scored on their final 4 drives. And some of the plays that Caleb made on the final drive of regulation, getting them from 3rd and 10 to 4th and 1 with that scramble, then picking up the 4th down conversion with another scramble, the touchdown throw against the blitz on 4th and 4, free rusher in his face, just knowing where he's got to put that ball, where his receiver is. And then obviously the overtime touchdown throw was absolutely ridiculous. Like you said, one of the great throws you'll ever see. But overall, I do think it's concerning that they were trailing like they were to a Packers team that is missing at this point, most of their best players. It's just not necessarily the game that is going to make me think the Bears are here. The Bears are totally legit. They're every bit as good as their record, because they do have some of those markers of a team that isn't as good as their record. They're 15th in point differential. They're 16th in DVOA. They do have a lot of these kind of late game escapes. And obviously this is against a good team, but it's not against the Green Bay Packers as we know them. And some of their wins that are similarly kind of miraculous or late game escapes are against just not good teams. So I do think they're good. I think their defense has gotten better. Still concerns me how much yardage they allow on a per play basis, and that they are pretty takeaway dependent overall. Their offense has obviously gotten better because I think Caleb is playing better as the year goes along. It's really the run game, of course, that has just been so elite after the first 4 weeks of the year. Caleb, so talented, clearly better than last year, still does have these stretches where he's not really putting together completions and building drives, and he can be erratic with his accuracy, and he hasn't figured out all this stuff, right? It's not like Caleb is just taking a leap to being a top 10 quarterback, in my opinion. He has a lot of the same issues. He's just gotten better and they're less significant, but the accuracy is still a real issue. Props to them for getting it done. The Bears are going to win the division. That's almost certain at this point, even though they do have 2 tough games. They go Niners and Lions, but with how beat up the Lions defense is, that's just not the same opponent that they would have been earlier in the year. And the Packers, if they beat the Ravens and the Vikings, and the Bears lose out, that's the only way for them to get the division. I don't know. That just seems pretty improbable at this point. And the Packers aren't the same team that they would have been at full health. So maybe the Bears just flat out deserve to win the division with how everything has gone for the teams around them. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to now think, oh yeah, they're there with the Seahawks. They're there with the Rams. I think there's a big gap between those 2 teams in Chicago.
They're not there with them teams, but I think they're with everybody else. Yeah.
I think they're
I'm above Green Bay. I am above Detroit.
Yeah. I don't think that's unreasonable. I would still lean on Philly, as flawed as they are, and even though Chicago got them, just because of the defensive formula. And look, I'd say the offensive talent, and Philly's offense has looked better these last 2 weeks against horrible football teams. I still think they've been a bad offense this year. They have so much to work out, but I do buy them a little bit more than Chicago. But after that, yeah, it sucks because it's just the Lions have been destroyed by defensive injuries. The Packers have been destroyed by injuries on both sides of the ball. I don't know. If you gave me healthy Jordan Love, I think the Packers win this football game. And if you gave me Jordan Love in a rematch between these 2 teams in the playoffs, I probably would take Green Bay, but it's really close. Chicago, it's a great season. It's huge progress. I'm not trying to be a downer. I'm just not all the way in. I'm not all the way bought in. For Green Bay, I just feel so bad for them. I mean, to already have lost Kraft for the season, Parsons for the season, and now you're in a massive game and Jordan Love gets concussed. And then even some of the plays within this game, like you mentioned, the deja vu with the failed onside kick recovery, botch snap on 4th and 1 in overtime, fumble at the 2-yard line. Like, obviously you can look at a lot of individual plays in a game and say, oh, you got unlucky there. But within this game, the Packers got so unlucky on those fronts. And at a macro level, it's as unlucky a season in terms of health as like any team you can think of, basically. Obviously, the Niners, like 2020, right? They just got brutal health luck. I think about the 2022 Rams. They had brutal health luck. Like, this happens. Often it happens to a team a year that should be great, but they're not because everybody gets hurt. That's been the Packers this year. The other teams that we talk about being disappointing, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bucs, they've all had injuries, but not like what Green Bay has had. And Green Bay's still going to make the playoffs. So that is impressive, but they don't have the same ceiling that I thought they would have and that they actually did when their best players were all on the field.
I think the worst injury luck I can think of is like the Niners one of these years.
That's what I said. That was the first team that I brought up.
Yeah. I mean, they would be number one. I just don't know if anybody could ever top San Francisco.
No, it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy. They got
I mean, Green Bay's definitely got bit, and it sucks. It just hates. You know what I will say, though, and I know Chicago dealt with their fair share of injuries, too. This is a benefit of playing a little bit of a lighter schedule, is some of these teams are sometimes just going to get cannibalized by playing in these tough-ass,
for sure,
grind-ass games. And then football is just a random sport, man. It's such a brutal sport. They can happen at any time. So I do feel bad for Green Bay. I feel like if they were at full strength, they would definitely still be my favorite out of this division.
Yeah, I agree. Let's look at the teams that are at the top of the NFC now, though. We saw the battle for the 1 seed. This was Thursday night. Logan and I were able to watch this game, though, from the viral TikTok awards. It was so important that we had it up on our screens, and we don't normally talk about Thursday night football games on our Sunday night streams, but this was the game of the year probably. So we are going to quickly talk about it. We're not going to do 20 minutes on the 2-point conversion Charbonnet. I think that's been covered up to this point. But just what did this mean for Seattle, Logan, to come back to win this game in this fashion?
It said most to me about this defense. I'm kind of seeing people on the internet give a lot of undue credit to Sam Darnold, and I thought Sam Darnold played all right. I thought he came up pretty big at the end. I thought Rashid
He overcame his demons, I think, is the big thing.
Yeah, I think that people are impressed that he didn't fall apart and collapse. But
let me just add to that real quick. The Rams have owned him. I mean, his last 2 games against them dating back to last season were horrible. And it looked like when he threw those 2 picks in the second half, maybe the collapse was starting. And I do think he responded very well from them. I'm not saying that I disagree with anything that you were saying or about to say, but I think that's where the Darnold praise comes from. It's not, oh, he outplayed Stafford or this was his MVP performance. He hung in there. It was
I've seen
All right. Well, you know, I'm not going to speak for idiots on the internet then. I'm just going to speak for myself because that's the only guy I know and the only guy I can trust, Logan.
I just want to push back on some of those narratives.
And Tupac, because his lyrics will never die. And fuck Diddy.
Fuck Diddy.
I'm not afraid to say
not
it.
like that. Not like that.
No,
man.
like
Come
screw
on,
him. Well, not like that. To hell with him. Like that.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I just say that because I think that some people were coming away with the wrong conclusion from this game. This said the most to me about this Seattle
I thought you were
defense.
actually going to say that about the fuck Diddy comments.
No.
Yeah, well, now I understand. And you know what? To hell with all his accomplices, too. Can I just say that? And one more thing. Jeff Epstein, he can suck it.
Ew, he probably would.
All right,
freaky, bro.
I didn't mean it. Once again, metaphors, man. Come on.
My fault, player. Anyways, this is to say I think people are kind of not giving enough credit to the Seattle defense for their heroics at the end of this game. I mean, we were talking about this in person, but the fact that they came up with, 5 or 6 straight stops.
5 straight 10 regulation.
In the second half, that's the biggest thing to me. I mean, to slow down this unstoppable Rams offense that has been a juggernaut all season long, talent everywhere. That's the story of this game to me. That's the strength of this football team. You know, their best player, I think, is Jackson Smith and Jigba, and they're great top to bottom. They revamped the offensive line. They got Darnold in here. Great coaching staff. This is a great football team. That's why Seattle has been top 3 to us for a few weeks now in our power rankings. That being said, their defense was the biggest reason they won this football game to me, and it wasn't Darnold, and I just want to give them a bunch of credit. I think Seattle's – I don't know. I said that a couple of weeks ago that I didn't know who I should have one, Seattle or Rams. I was at like a coin toss. Then saw a couple of bad Darnold games. I decided I'm going to bump them down a spot because of Denver and how much I like their defense. Seattle, to me, has reclaimed a spot in the top 2. And I don't know. It is one of those teams. I think we saw the best football game of the year to me. We've seen some damn good ones. That Ravens-Bills game week 1 was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think that was the game of the year to me. Bears-Packers this week was freaking awesome too. But start to finish, I thought Rams-Seahawks was more entertaining. Yeah. And
not even close.
That's the game of the year to me. Those are the 2 best teams in football. I thought we saw a showdown. And but I don't come away going, Seattle's, the Rams have got one, Seattle's got one. I think if we had the 2 best teams play each other, I think that would be our NFC title game. Unfortunately, the most likely outcome, one of them will probably get the 1 seed. The other will likely be the 5 seed, play the 4 seed, go on to play, and they will probably most likely meet in the divisional round.
It's very possible. But this game was huge on so many fronts for Seattle, and that's a big part of it, right? The seeding implications, them now being in position, controlling their own destiny for the 1 seed, the division implications, them now being in control on that front, like super significant in a practical sense, but also just in terms of what this meant to them as a football team. I think in terms of what this meant to Darnold individually, like in terms of the mental toughness they showed collectively, it's as big as it gets. This is probably the biggest win of the season for any team in the game of the year, as we're talking about. I had Seattle as my number 2 contender. I think I've had them there for the last 2 editions of the power rankings. Maybe, don't quote me on that. Definitely when we just did it. I do think these are the 2 best teams in football. I think if you look at basically like any of the metrics, I mean, they are just so far ahead of the rest of the league in terms of simple stuff like point differential. If you factor in strength of schedule, where they've had 2 of the toughest schedules in the NFL, then they stand out even more. If you look at like DVOA, like they're just so damn good, so elite in so many different ways. And I think we've seen that across the entirety of the season. I mean, just the floor for both these teams is like so high. They're in every single game at the very least. They mostly win in blowouts. They mostly win against good teams. It's just so impressive. And Seattle is absolutely there with LA in that sense. I do still think the Rams are better. I'm maybe a Rams propagandist, but I don't think it's controversial. I think most people think they're the best team in football. I really think they're the best team in football. I do think like both these defenses are great. Seattle's defense is better. Both these offenses are really good. However, Seattle's offense just does not compare to LA's in terms of LA being such a machine, stacked all around. One of the most talented offenses we've ever seen. There's been a lot more cracks in the armor with Seattle in terms of them being inefficient running the football, having had a couple of rough Darnold performances when he's under duress. It's just different with the Rams, like the ease that they have offensively. But Seattle now in back-to-back games has at least gone down to the wire with the Rams, and they beat them in this one. And I am not going to say it's like all about the defense. I just don't think that's true when you put up 37 points and you put up 30 points in regulation, or they put up 38 points actually because they went for 2 and got it in overtime. Obviously, the offense made plays, and also obviously special teams made plays, right? Raheed Shaheed really changes this game when he gets the punt return touchdown. But I am with you, like, in terms of how much credit you can give to a defense in a performance where they allow 30 points in regulation, Seattle's like as deserving of that credit as you can.
I just mean they were
5
down,
straight stops,
they were down
backs against the wall against an offense this good. 100%.
Yeah, they couldn't afford the Rams to score another point. Like they had to get real solid when it mattered. Like they shut them out after that first touchdown in the 4th quarter. And I mean, like, dude, the fact that Darnold comes back with a pick and then you force, 3 straight punts and you get a little bit lucky with the missed field goal.
But it was a long field goal. Rams kicking game has sucked all year.
It's just wild to me, man.
Well, and then even after that, right, like once the comeback was complete, the Seahawks still gave the ball back to the Rams with a 3 and out, and then they got another stop. Like, that's what you can't forget. Actually, after they tied the game up, Seattle got the ball 3 more times, and they didn't get a first down across those 3 drives, and their defense was just so good that they still held on. And obviously the Shaheed punt return for touchdown, like, that's a huge, huge factor. That makes the comeback way more viable. So Darnold was clutch because he did lead 2 touchdown drives when they needed it. especially the overtime drive. That was so clutch, but the defense did keep giving them chances. And I've been saying, I think they're a top 3 defense. I mean, they're just so stacked. They're there with Denver. Absolutely. They might be better. Houston is number 1 for me, but like Seattle's nuts on that side of the ball. So props to them, dude. I do think this does not change the fact that the Rams are my favorite, but Seattle has shown they can beat them. Because that was my question. I was like, okay, after this week, am I going to be thinking, yeah, Seattle is right there with the Rams? Or am I going to be thinking Seattle can't beat the Rams? Because the trend with Darnold had been concerning. And we talked about the offense for Seattle coming into this game on like a bit of a drier spell where they had some underwhelming performances in recent weeks. And for them to be able to dig deep at the biggest moment of the season against, in my opinion, still the best team in the NFL with all the implications on the line, like that is as big time as it gets. So I do think the resume of these two teams just stand above the rest so far. And I think that honestly makes what the Rams have done offensively even more impressive. The fact that like they are leading the NFL in points per drive while they faced, I believe, the toughest defensive schedule in the NFL. Like it's crazy, man. They are a juggernaut. I believe they are the great team in the league this year. And also, they didn't have Devontae in this game. And so Puka just went off for 220 something yards. Puka, not such a smart fellow, we learned this past week, but I'll be damned if he isn't one of the best receivers to ever play the game, dude. Like he is doing special stuff this year, and everything around him is great. You know, it's just such a symbiotic relationship the Rams have, but Puka is definitely the best player in this offense. Like he is absolutely in the conversation for best receiver this year, as is JSN. Those are the two guys who have been the most productive, been the most dominant. That was an awesome game, though. That really was. Now let's get to the games that were not so awesome. Bills-Browns, Logan. Bills get a win, but only by a field goal against a 3-win Browns team. Quickly, what did you take away from this?
The Bills were just off a little bit, especially Josh in this passing attack consistently. Also, I understand, and I know it's complicated. Maybe you'll disagree with me on this. I really didn't like McDermott going for either of those 4th downs.
Ooh, I will disagree with you.
And I get it. And I know Dawson Knox drops one of those TDs, and if he catches it, maybe we look at it different. I didn't like the first time they went for the 4th down, and I thought Josh Allen sailed that pass. I didn't like the second time when they went for it. Here's my justification. I am pro points. I get it. The Bills, they score touchdowns. It's -4 if you kick a field goal. You're playing the fucking Browns, dude. Like,
okay,
you've picked off Shador 3 times. You've sacked his ass all game. You're up 3, bruh. Make him go score a touchdown, McDermott. Like, my thing is, I get it, bruh. In a judgment call like this game, you're up 3. You have a chance to make them, force them to go get a TD later in the game. If you would kick that field goal, you would have had an opportunity to go up 9 and put yourself up 2 possessions. I am not a always go for it or never go for it guy. I am always a judgment call. I believe every decision that you make on 4th down, it depends on your opponent, the circumstances, everything, every factor matters. So I think every decision is different. In this instance, against a Cleveland Browns team that is shitty, just take the points and make it easy. And like, I thought that could have come back to bite them on the ass in a big way in this game. And they're a little bit lucky that it didn't.
My pushback. I am a big believer in trust your elite offense, trust your elite quarterback in those spots, especially because I think both contexts actually did lend themselves towards being go for it situations. The first one, 4th and 3, would have been a 50-yard field goal. Badgley, who they had to bring up, their 3rd kicker, because Bass has been hurt all year. Who knows what the hell's going on? Now Matt Prater gets hurt. Badgley shanked an extra point earlier in this game. I think they just had no confidence in the kicking game, and rightfully so. And that's a spot where, like, you want 7. So I was good with that. The second one I thought was a no-brainer. I really did, because if you score there, the game is over. It's 4th and 1. And, like, the play was there. And I think they called a play that they knew that they loved, because all year, when they have gotten Josh in a bootleg situation like that, rolling out to his right, and they run that concept where they have the running back slipping out into the flat, that's obviously an easy way to pick up a yard if you can. It's just really tough to guard that much space. But if they sit on that route, if they're on top of that, then he's able to work the concept deeper with the tight end, a layer behind, and he pretty much always hits one of the two. I mean, especially he has made some killer plays finding the tight end, which he did. He made the throw. He put it right on Dawson Knox's hands. He just dropped it. And that was the knockout touchdown. So you know me, man. I'm Mr. Process over results. I thought the process was right. I like that McDermott has been more aggressive on fourth down this year because there have been so many times where I've pulled my hair out with rage that he isn't aggressive enough, that he doesn't lean into the offense enough because it's by so far the strength of this team. It didn't come back to bite them because the Browns are a shitty football team, but I think that was the right way to approach those situations.
I mean, I am just upset with the Bills. I think the Bills are very middling. They're disappointing. It's the wideouts. The wideouts are my biggest issue. I thought the defense was pretty disruptive today against Shador. I think some of these numbers are going to be unfair to Shador. I don't think he played as bad as they indicate. I think he's behind. I mean, this offensive line is so beat up. That dude Robinson fucking blows. Greg Rousseau was shitting on him all game.
It was a great Rousseau game.
It was a great Rousseau game. I feel bad for Shador. I think I would say they are setting him up to fail. I don't know how you could set anyone up to succeed in this offense. They are devoid of playmakers. I like Fannin. Judkins is probably maybe going to miss into the start of next season.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That was one of the worst leg injuries I have ever seen. I really hope he is okay. He's not okay. I'm just saying I hope he makes
like
a full
career-wise.
Yeah. Yes. I hope he can walk again and play NFL football again. That was gruesome. Yeah. One of my biggest issues is still with just the receivers. Like, I've said my stuff about, we had that big thing about the Bills last week. I don't really feel fundamentally different about the Bills. James Cook balled in this game. I thought he kept them afloat when Josh was a little bit out, when he was dealing with that foot injury. He had some big plays. I really wish the Bills had a receiver I trusted. Keon Coleman is fucking unplayable, man. I think that if they had taken Xavier Worthy on draft day, he would at least be on the field and a difference maker for this team.
Second DNP coach's decision.
Yeah, bro.
Insane he is actually unplayable last year.
It's unbelievable,
terrible.
Dude. It is
terrible.
That is just like the worst possible outcome that you could have from Keon at this point in his career. I'm not saying the guy can't turn it around, but I haven't seen anything from him that would indicate
he's just not good.
He's going to figure it out. Exactly.
He can't separate. He can't run routes. He's
Shakir, Shakir's solid. I like Dalton Kincaid, but this is an offense that is still relying on Dawson Knox to make plays. Dawson had a great game last week. I'll chalk it up to father time. Shout out to him having the kid. I don't like relying on him. They're relying on Brandon Cooks. They're relying on Josh Palmer. They're relying on Tyrell Shavers. Like, come on, bruh. Look, man, I don't know who the fuck is going to win the AFC. Like you said, dude, I could see any team coming out at this point, but the Bills just leave me wanting more again. Good. I'm glad they escape out of this one, but I just felt like they played with their food in this game, and I'm just disappointed, man. I want to see the Bills bludgeon a team like Cleveland.
Yeah, this was a really, really ugly performance. Gross as a win can be. I am higher on the Bills than you, and it's not because of a lot of fundamental disagreements about their flaws and their strengths as a football team. I think it's just more confidence in the strengths coming through and maybe a perspective on like a lot of the other teams in the AFC, all of them really having a significant flaw of their own. And at the end of the day, I will take the best offense in the conference and the best quarterback in the conference. Probably. That's my instinct if I had to pick one, but it's really close. That could change before we get to the playoffs. I do just want to emphasize that though, that they are by far the best offense in the conference, because this was a bad offensive game from them. They still scored touchdowns on the first 3 drives against the top 5 defense. They were rolling. They were averaging 10 yards per play. The second half was really ugly offensively. I don't disagree with you on the receivers being below average, no question. It doesn't keep them from being the number 2 offense in the NFL in terms of points per drive. It doesn't keep them from being a top 5 most efficient passing attack. They have one of the best, if not the best, run games in football with this offensive line, James Cook and Josh's impact in the run game. And their last 2 weeks, they dropped 39 when they needed every one of them against Cincinnati. They dropped 35 when they needed every one of them against the Patriots. Like, no question, the Bills have flaws. If something comes back to get them offensively, it's going to be the receivers. It's going to be the Texans or the Broncos, these teams that are so sticky in coverage and also have these great pass rushes. they get home in 3 seconds, they cover everybody for 3 seconds. That would be the downfall of the Bills if there is one. But I do think Josh has such a superhuman ability to extend plays, as we know, to make these next level throws, to make these next level plays with his legs. The run game is so consistent and good that they still, for the most part, just motor their way to 30 plus points. And that is bankable with this team. It's not going to happen every single week. When they do have a letdown performance, we know what it's going to be because of it. It's the receivers, but they overcome the fact that they're limited there by being so good in so many other ways. And that's where I land on not being worried about the offense after this performance. Like, I'm not concerned. I'm just frustrated because it was just bad execution in important spots is really what it came down to. I mean, two horrible, extremely important drops by Dawson Knox. We already discussed what should have been the knockout touchdown. Brandon Cooks, I mean, crossing route should have been a 25, 30-yard pickup right in the breadbasket. He just totally drops it. That was really bad. Those were two huge plays that should have been made 100% of the time. And then you mentioned Josh was not good today. I will say he just didn't have the opportunity to do much. He only attempted 19 passes. 3 of them out of his 7 incompletions were just flat out drops, the 2 I already mentioned. And then his only incompletion in the first half was another just pure drop by James Cook, who was wide open in the flat and just literally took his eyes off the ball, started focusing on running after the catch. There was one sequence where I thought Josh missed back-to-back throws on 3rd and 4th down. You mentioned the one he was trying to squeeze into Josh Palmer. He should have made that throw. He's Josh Allen. That's his job. That's a huge, got to have it down. It was a tough throw, though. I mean, there's 2 defenders bracketing him. It's a tight window. The one that was really bad to me was the play before where he had Khalil Shakir wide open in the flat. Would have been an easy run after catch, pick it up. And so he put them in that position where he had to make that tougher play on 4th down by just missing what should have been a layup. And then the other really bad play was the 20-yard sack that he took at the end of the first half where, I mean, luckily that wasn't a safety, and luckily the Browns didn't even turn it in any points. But he had a couple bad moments. That being said, it was more so just like a lack of like great stuff from Josh Allen in this game, in my opinion, than it was like him doing much bad. And I think it was like total offensive issues of guys dropping passes. The run game was great in the first half. It did really slow down in the second half. It was still clearly the strength of the offense on the day, but it was just more annoying. Like, I know that the receivers might have a bad game and that might get the Bills, but I also know that all these other teams have their flaws that are significant. I do just want to give credit to Myles Garrett for how much he altered the game plan in this one. Like, oh my God, dude, there are some crazy stats. The Bills did not run James Cook to the outside on Myles Garrett's side a single time this game. That's insane. And they also just repeatedly kept rolling Josh out to the right, bootleg to the right, just to avoid him, just to take him out of the play as much as possible. And also, like, that's another reason that Josh wasn't really able to like do that much in this game. He didn't have the ball that much. And also the game plan was get it out quickly. Don't let this pass rush get home. So I kind of feel that was part of the Bills having a more limited offensive performance. It was like they were so worried about Myles Garrett that they were conservative, and they also just didn't make the big plays. They weren't good on 3rd down. They weren't good on 4th down, but I don't worry about the Buffalo Bills offense is what it comes down to. The defense, pathetic early in the first half. Like those first few drives, when the Bills were up 20-10, you would have thought that the Browns were a bottom 5 defense and a top 5 offense, the inverse of what they actually are, because the Bills offense was that good and the Bills defense was that bad. And that's the story of this season overall for this team. Elite offense, bad defense. The defense did step up though. Really, I mean, Browns are a terrible, terrible offense. They came into this game last in yards and points per drive. So that shouldn't move you at all. It doesn't move me at all. The run defense still sucked. Browns still picked up a lot of yards on the ground, but I do want to shout out Rousseau, 2.5 sacks, 9 pressures in this game, and big sacks too. A red zone sack, a 4th down sack, a half sack on the final drive, and then he followed that up with forcing the intentional grounding on Shedeur, which is effectively another sack for him. He's going up against a terrible offensive line and like the most prone to taking sacks quarterback in the NFL. So again, there's not really much you can take away from the Bills and be like, yay about this game. It was bad. They played a bad football game, but Rousseau being a closer in this one, it's something, because that is as important to the Bills' playoff hopes as anything. Like, I am overall very confident in what we're going to get from Josh and the offense, and they're going to be great, as they have been in the playoffs year over year. They average 28 points per game in the playoffs since 2020. Josh's numbers are sparkling, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to come down to, can somebody make a clutch play defensively? Can somebody get them off the field? And Rousseau is the guy you look at, him and Joey Bosa, and say, okay, can you do that? And Rousseau has been at times a good pressure guy, not a big sack guy, but ultimately, like, in the playoffs, specifically against the Chiefs, he hasn't really made big plays. So I'm not saying the fact that he did that against the Cleveland Browns is the reason he's going to do it. I'm not really that confident that he's going to do it, but it was good to see him do it once. And he is absolutely one of the most important players for this team and part of one of the most important units in terms of that overall pass rush. There was another team in the AFC that had a similarly ugly win against a similarly shitty team, Logan. The Texans beat the Raiders by 2. Real quick, what'd you take away from this?
Not a ton. I mean, honestly, the biggest guy that I was most impressed with from this game was Ashton Jeanty. Like, the fact that he got going and broke those 2 big runs were impressive to me. I don't know, Texans handle business against a shitty team. I didn't really pay close attention to this one, I'll be honest.
Okay. This isn't quite fair to me. That you've got a bit of a diatribe about the Bills are middling when they squeeze out a close, ugly one against a shitty team. The Texans were in even more danger of losing to an even shittier team, dare I say. And it's okay, on to the next one.
I don't know. I mean, Jeanty ripped them.
Really bad from the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the worst rushing.
240 yards of total offense against the Raiders. They didn't have an offensive touchdown until the fourth quarter.
The offense isn't good.
That's what I'm saying. Look, maybe I'm being defensive because we had that whole Bills conversation, but
I'm just not surprised
by the Texans. Focus on the Bills' flaws, and some other teams, it's just like, it's okay. Where it's like the Texans' offense is a huge concern, even though I think they're really good. I like
their formula more. I like the defense wins.
What? The defense wins? The Bills' offense has them the most wins in the NFL since 2020.
The defense wins possessions, man. Yeah, like I just think the Houston Texans defense might be the best unit in all of football.
I don't disagree.
So I just don't worry about them as much game to game.
Don't you think the Bills have a top 2 offense?
We
don't need to get back into this.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like,
fundamentally,
how you can
let me say my
piece about one and not concerned about the other.
It's the fucking Raiders. They were always going to win this game, man.
What are you talking about? They were absolutely in danger of losing this game.
Come on,
they were a Nico Collins huge play on third down. They were closer to losing this game than the Bills were.
They weren't going to lose to Geno, bro. Come on, man. I like betting on 11 guys.
They weren't going to lose to Shadur, but you had your concerns about the Bills.
I like betting on 11 guys to win than Josh being a superhero for 4 straight games. I know Josh has always done it. I just don't like having that kind of pressure on one guy, and I feel like it's going to take Josh being a superhero for 4 straight games.
Isn't there that kind of pressure on one guy in the Texans offense with CJ for an offense that is bad, that is
I feel like
something than yards and points per drive?
I feel like Josh has to put up 30 points per game to win. I feel like the Texans can put up 24 and win. And like, I get that they did that today, but
the Texans don't put up 24 is the thing a lot. And I think the Texans are really good.
I think we have a difference.
They scored 16 points offensively today against the Raiders.
We have a difference in styles of victory and how we prefer teams to win.
I guess.
I just don't
betting on the best quarterback and best offense in the conference when you're talking about like a legitimately bad offense, which is what the Texans is, as great as the defense is. Recent NFL history tells us you should bet on the great offense if presented with
I know that's what you believe.
I
know that's what you believe.
No, that's if you look at the numbers.
I
literally did an intensive analysis into this. Teams don't win the Super Bowl with bad offenses in today's NFL. It doesn't happen. Hasn't happened since the 2015 Broncos.
I'm going to bet on...
And every offense that wins gets even better in the playoffs. I'm literally presenting you with facts. Watch the video I made. Look at the history yourself.
I like the team with the elite edge rushers and the elite defensive personnel at every single position group versus the team with...
sure.
I think Josh Allen... I'm not doing
I just think
Josh Allen is the best player in the world. I think he is. I like the Texans team more than I like the Bills.
That's fine. That's fine. My thing is, when the Texans barely scrape pie against a shitty team, it's they took care of business. You literally said they took care of business. No, they didn't. They fucking sucked. Just like the Bills sucked today. I'm just saying be consistent. Just like the Broncos sucked today and got their asses handed to them. Like the AFC, man, it's open. It's open as all hell. And you can take your formula. That's fine. All these teams are flawed, but I'm just saying, let's be consistent with our criticisms because I thought it was a real struggle for them offensively. They couldn't run the football. Passing game was totally kept underneath. Also, I mean, shout out to the Raiders, dude, because Geno was actually moving the ball on this defense and Genty actually got going. And like that hasn't happened for the Raiders this year. And to do it against the best defense in football, that was impressive. But it was weird. It was very ugly for Houston. And you just really got to watch that offense, man, because it can be very, very bad at times. And so they got it done. They won this football game, but not good. Not a good performance from Houston at all. Okay, the rest of these games are pretty much all involving two teams that are eliminated. So let's go 5 words. Bengals, Dolphins. Quinn Ewers.
Trash.
Yeah. You think Quinn Ewers was trash? Is that your take?
Yes.
I thought he was fine. He's just not like an NFL starter athlete. He just doesn't have the mobility. He doesn't have
but
the
at least
arm,
shout out the Dolphins for
accurate.
seeing the writing on the wall.
Yeah, but I do think like benching Tua was purely a statement. Like I don't think they think Ewers is any good. They took him in the 7th round. I think they're purely just like, fuck Tua, we're done with him, which fair enough.
That's a step in the right direction.
It is direction, and Burrow was good in this game. Saints, Jets.
Dude, some guy on Twitter was trying to flex to me the fact that Tyler Shuck lit up the fucking Jets. Buddy, the Jets haven't gotten an interception all season, big dog. I don't care. I could light the Jets' sorry-ass defense up for 300 yards, man. I don't care. But damn, Juwan Johnson and Chris Olave smacked me in the balls in the 32-team fantasy league, man. I'm done.
Are you cooked? Are you done?
Bro,
damn.
Those 2 guys and Kenneth Walker dropped like 100 points on me, those 3. So I was betting on Shedeur, and actually it wasn't even Shedur's fault. I just got smacked by the Saints.
Yeah, Olave went off. Dude, I will give some praise to Tyler Shuck just because it's not an isolated performance. He's been more solid than I expected. He's really been decent. So he's overachieved my expectations. That's kind of the only thing to say about this game. Chiefs, Titans. Gardner Minshew, Logan, one of your favorite throwback quirked up white boys who doesn't get talked about enough anymore. And then he came out and he tore his ACL.
I think the Chiefs are tanking.
Yeah.
I think they're actually tanking.
I mean, it's the best thing for them, obviously.
It is, dude. At this point, who cares?
I don't know that they needed to deliberately weaken Gardner's ACL, so he'd tear it, possibly ruining his career.
Now we have Steelers legend Chris Oladokun at QB for the Chiefs.
Yeah, man. Like, the Chiefs suck with a 3rd-string quarterback. I don't think it's a revelation. I mean, they'd suck with a backup quarterback.
Chiefs average
Mahomes holds a lot together, but they suck more with a 3rd-string quarterback.
The past year, without Patrick Mahomes as the starter, how many points did they score today?
Well, they scored 9 today. 9. They scored 0 last year.
4.5
but they
sat
everybody.
Pat. Yeah.
Yeah, but they sat everybody against Denver. That was a full-on just resting for the playoffs game. But no, it's bad. It is definitely really bad out there. And shout out Cam Ward. He got rid of the ball a little faster. He played an efficient game. But losing by 17 to the Titans is really ugly. But as we're saying, the best thing for the Chiefs, because at this point, they just want to see how high can we get that draft pick. Can we pick 10? That'd be pretty good for them, picking 10 in every round. Falcons, Cardinals, Birds, 2 red birds. In this case,
Kirk Cousins kind of balling, bro. Kirk Cousins,
is he better than Penix?
Clockwise, dude. I don't know. That's what I was wondering, bro. Are we right back where we started? I don't know, man.
I think he is, dude.
It certainly seems like it. Like he just, as much as I hate on Kirk Cousins, and I don't think he's got any mobility anymore. I don't think he's got the arm that he once had. It's like, fuck, dude, you can't take Kirk's mind out of it. Like we were talking about him breaking down defenses and stuff. There is some merit to a guy who can just step back and know what he's looking at. And Kirk has had some bad games, stretching back to last year. He had some bad games this year. He might be. He just distributes the ball better, I feel like, than Penix, man. He can get the ball out to guys. It's not that big of a difference, though. But
yeah. Well, I mean, he is definitely better just in terms of like the pure pocket processing.
Yes,
accuracy.
that I agree with.
He also is, of course, a total statue, but he can still like lead to good team offense. I do think that he's just so much more consistent than Penix, and I would probably rather have him out there. And that is not good for Penix. Also, just good run game from Atlanta in this one, as they often do. Giants-Vikings, Logan, 9 actually went out in this game versus Jackson Dart in an aura off, a quirked up white boy off, two dogs go into battle. What did you take away from this one?
Two dogs. He trying his best to make that MF look intimidating.
Both of them. Yeah. Tough quarterback play.
Abdul Carter is an interesting experience, man. Had the best game of his life last week against Washington, and then in this one gets the neutral zone infraction that gets a pick 6 taken back. Yeah, that was my favorite play from this game, and I thought it was really interesting. Shout out McCarthy for that pick 6 and the fumble and the other interception. But the Vikings still win because the Giants suck. Dude, the Giants ran the ball 30 times to 13 pass attempts in this one. A ridiculous offensive formula.
Dude, well, how long did it take for Dart to have his first completion?
I think
it was a long time,
bruh.
Yeah, it was late in this game. Yeah, it was rough quarterback play in this one for sure. Not surprising. Not really much more to say. I mean, I think there are some people who are like piling on Dart sucks now. This offensive situation around him is bad. So many injuries. I think overall what Dart has done this year for a rookie is impressive, but not good today. We know what the Viking quarterback situation is also not good. This was pretty gross on that front. Eagles, Commanders, this was yesterday, and we're not talking about a game that Josh Johnson played in the Big 2025. That's my rule. It was a good Saquon game, but against a horrible defense. I think we learned nothing. I can't wait for Eagles-Bills this week, though. I think that'll be huge performance for both teams. Really the last big one going into the playoffs, and that'll be a lot of fun. But I have nothing else to say about this game unless there's anything you want to add, Logan. All right, let's get into these super chats then. We got a lot of wonderful super chats from you guys, and we appreciate them all. Matt says, as a New England fan, Maye can be super frustrating sometimes. He goes from pulling boneheaded moves with 2 turnovers, and then he does what he did versus the Ravens. I'm no longer used to them overcoming adversity, lol. Yeah, the Drake Maye era, you're going to overcome a lot of adversity again. Your thoughts, Logan? My thoughts are this. He's a young quarterback. Yeah. He's in his second year. He's about as good as a second-year quarterback.
He's one of the best I've ever seen. I mean, maybe
one of the best.
Dan Marino, you know.
Yeah, Marino, Mahomes, like
those
Lamar
are the pinnacle.
MVP in his second year.
Warner, I mean, but even does that count? You know,
well, Warner was in his late 40s.
I was going to say he was like 29. Yeah, bro.
No, if we're talking about true second-year quarterbacks, I mean, I think those are the top 3. Those are the guys who won MVP. And then, like, Herbert was amazing in his second year. But
the mobility is so unreal. Like, I know we use composure and poise a lot, but Maye's feel and ability to resist pressure and to just keep making plays and to create with his legs. He's such a special guy.
I think the biggest thing for him that once he cuts it out, I mean, he will be like truly among the elite of the elite. And I already had him as my number 5 quarterback when we ranked everybody, but just some of the bad sacks that he does still take. He's got to cut down on that sack rate. That was a problem against the Bills last week. Took 3 in this game. None of them were too costly in terms of yardage, but I would like to see him improve upon that. And yeah, he just had a couple of weird mistakes in this one. Like I said, like I thought he was telegraphing his throws more than usual, but for a second-year quarterback and being as consistent as he is, as good as he is, it's pretty insane, man. His accuracy being as consistently great as he is with all the physical tools he has. Drake Maye. B. Crames says, Tyler Shuck threw for 300 yards before Drake Maye. If you mean that today, literally, because Tyler Shuck played first, you are correct.
No, however, it's true. He did it in his career before Drake.
Really? Wait, what week did Tyler Shuck do it?
This week.
Today was Drake's first? I thought he did it a few weeks ago.
This was Drake Maye's first 300-yard game of his career.
Wow. I remember that stat going around. I thought that he had done it. When did he get super close? Oh, my God. He went 281, 294, 282 in back-to-back weeks. Wow. Okay, never mind. You are correct, B. Crames. Amadou says, you said you thought Josh deserved MVP last week because he was doing more with less, but why was that not the case for Jokic? It's 2 different sports. I get it, but they're both one of one offensive engines. I don't really want to revisit the 2025 NBA MVP race at this point. We talked about it so much, but my explanation will be, I don't have like one MVP case that I am always going to go with every single year. It is not always going to be, this is the guy doing the most with the least, so he should win the award. Like, it comes down to such nuanced differences. I think this year's MVP race is so close. I've said this episode, I don't know that I'm going to give Josh the MVP just because, like I said, yeah, he's doing the most to elevate his team, but then he didn't play very well today. And you could make a similar case for Herbert or Maye, or then you could make the pure production case for Stafford. And it's honestly going to come down to like which of those cases is the most compelling, not which case do I believe purely has to define the MVP every year, if that makes sense. And last year it came down to both guys doing incredible floor raising jobs. Shea, what he did offensively, Jokic, what he did offensively too. Obviously, the Thunder as a team reached different heights in terms of their levels of team success. And I just thought that like Shea was so incredibly efficient, so transformative for that offense while being a positive defensively that ultimately he just had sort of the more flawless campaign resume, if you will, because I do think that Jokic last year in the regular season had some real defensive issues, and the Nuggets as a team defense were bad, and that held back their ceiling as a team. Now, the personnel around him wasn't good either. His offensive load was crazy. That's true. But I'm not really like factoring that into the MVP race, because what I'm factoring in is what is the value that you are delivering, not what can you go do in a playoff run if you fully lock in defensively. What are you actually doing on a game-to-game basis? And I thought it was as close as possible, but I did slightly prefer Shea's case. And they are different sports also. Logan, anything you would like to add?
I was not addressed in this question. I was not making the Josh Allen MVP case.
Well, fair enough. I just always want your thoughts, buddy. But okay, I'll go fuck myself, I guess. Matt says, also follow up. Yes, New England isn't a real contender this year, but at this point, we're playing with house money. Next year will be the season we New England fans will have actual expectations. That's very reasonable, if that's your take. I saw a lot of people claiming after the first half last week, this is our division now. So I don't know if that's reflecting all.
Oh yeah, fans. Fuck you, Dave Portnoy. That was funny, you jackass.
Yeah, idiot, loser, L,
dumbass.
Was there something you wanted to add, Logan?
Oh yeah, on the MVP thing, I agree with you. It's like the point I was making earlier about kicking field goals versus going for touchdowns. I think you said it well. Every year is different. Every case is different. It's not like a by and large. This guy has doo-doo teammates and he's friggin' sweet, so he wins. It's a case by case basis.
I also do think like the precedent has been set in the NBA, and I don't value this too much because I think at this point, like you should come to your conclusion of what is the most valuable player to you. There has been a precedent set on valuing ceiling raising more than floor raising throughout the history of the game. So that maybe factors into it the tiniest little bit too. This year is going to be another insane MVP race between those two. Both of them playing better basketball, making basically just better versions of the same cases they already were last year. But now Shea with even crazier efficiency on like a team that's on pace to be one of the regular season GOATs, and Jokic also being even more efficient offensively, being more decent defensively. Yeah, that's going to be crazy. Brett says, Merry Christmas, y'all. I listen every Sunday live. You have such a good show, and I hope to enjoy your content for years to come. You guys do great work. Thank you, Brett. Unfortunately, that's not going to be possible because I'm going to hit Logan over the head with an oversized mallet. He's going to do the same to me. And we're going to die untimely deaths, but we appreciate you very much. I know it's NBA, but quick vibe check on OKC. Blip or fall back to earth?
Merry Christmas, Brett. Shout out you, Brett. Thank you for listening. Yeah. I think it's a blip. I think it's a little bit of an aberration. I think OKC was kind of due for a little bit of a snag, but no, OKC's not a contender. No, they're still my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, not only are they still the favorites, I think they're still heavy favorites. I think they're still probably going to have the best net rating in a season ever, and I think they can still definitely break the wins record this year.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they're going to rip off another ridiculous win streak. Honestly, for me, nothing has changed about OKC as a team from them being at 24-1 versus 25-3.
I will say the only thing that I would consider this year, considering the contract situation, is I would consider dealing Lou Dort. If he continues shooting like this, I think he's a movable guy at the deadline this year if they wanted to upgrade. Say, a la, I don't know how you – well, I do know how you get this done. You attach some first-round picks like, I don't know, man, like a little Lou Dort MPJ action. Is that crazy?
Well, you have to move other contracts to match MPJ's money, and the thing is – the other contracts for OKC are also good, except Isaiah Joe. That would be movable. I don't know. I wouldn't do it.
I don't know. Like, I don't think you. I'm not saying that you don't have to, but I think that there is a real opportunity for OKC to improve at the deadline. And I think Dort's shooting could be problematic. I know he was great against Denver last year. I know he made a bunch of shots for OKC in the playoffs. I just think when I look at guys that are expendable, and Dort is probably going to be a guy that's going to be on his way out in a couple years anyway.
Yeah.
If they wanted to upgrade, that they could make a deal with him and get better somewhere.
I think what they should be doing actually is just closing without him. I just think Kayson, Caruso are better players, honestly. I felt that way. I think that their offensive impact is more consistent while they are also exceptional defenders. I think Caruso is a better overall defender than Lou. Different defenders, but I would take his overall off-ball impact team defense over Lou's just like pure, sticky, elite man defense when Caruso's also great at that stuff. But my thing is, Lou is going to be the odd man out here. Like, I think they are going to let him walk just because ultimately they have so much talent in terms of perimeter defenders. They don't need him. But I wouldn't want to be like moving off of other contracts or even committing money necessarily to a player who isn't on their team right now. Because if they trade Lou as an expiring, which he is, well, he's got a team option after this year. But like if you commit to somebody else, now that makes it harder to re-sign Hartenstein. That makes it harder to maybe keep some of these other pieces like a Kaysen in place. I'd kind of just be on the side of like Lou, when it's run its course, it's run its course. But I agree with you. I mean, his shooting has not been good. That was pretty much the problem in the Timberwolves loss, just overall bad shooting from OKC. And also J-Dub, I'll be real. I think J-Dub is the reason they've lost these two games. Like, I think if J-Dub doesn't play, and if they just run the offense through Shea completely like they were, more so, and three-point shooting being down is also a part of those losses, but they probably win. I just think J-Dub is not in rhythm yet. They're trying to get him involved. They're trying to get him a lot of touches, but when he's going 6 of 18 from the field, like, he's just looked totally incapable of getting by people, incapable of creating advantages, taking a lot of really tough shots. I don't worry about that long term. I just think the Thunder have been a better team when they go super Shea-centric and put a kick-ass defensive lineup around him than they have been now that they're trying to sort of wedge J-Dub back into things, get him reintegrated, which they have to do. J-Dub is a very good player. They're better with him long-term, all of that. But what Shea's been able to do, I mean, Shea's led them to a 125 offensive rating without J-Dub this year, while their defense is absolutely ludicrous. Shea's just at that level of crazy, literally goated, literally the best ever offensive on-ball efficiency at crazy volume that J-Dub at this point is like kind of stepping on toes just a little bit. Also, though, I mean, Shea bears some responsibility for getting stripped by Ann on that final play, getting blocked on the layup. But overall, I think like if you look at those two games, Shea has been the thing keeping their offense alive, even if he hasn't been as spotless as he has been for the most part this year, because it's just been like a goated regular season from him. There's your NBA take on our NFL show. Colby says, Merry Christmas, you guys. Love your guys' videos. That Seahawks 2-point conversion was probably the craziest play I ever saw.
Merry Christmas, Colby. Shout out you. Thank you, man. I agree. That's one of the most nuts. I'm trying to think about even plays that like, I don't know, like that. You know what I mean? They were like unconventional.
Like officiating craziness.
Yeah, or because I'm not like, I think of crazy plays and like I think of Malcolm Butler's interception or something, but like that's a conventional football play. I'm trying to think of something bizarre.
It was one of the most strangely officiated plays ever. I don't know. I honestly didn't think they got it right. I think it's kind of crazy that you can blow a play dead and then still have a recovery when everybody stopped playing. I thought it should have just been replayed down. We were wrong. It was a backwards pass. We can't rule it a failed conversion, but we messed up. We have to do it again. Inadvertent whistle, whatever you want to call it. I just thought like that was ridiculous. Everybody stopped playing. Charbonnet just kind of lackadaisically walked up, picked up the ball, and fucking heady play by him for doing that. But that was crazy. That's definitely one of the crazier plays you'll ever see. Okay, B. Cranes is back. Carson, talking puck, Nerd Sesh hockey content. I don't know anything about hockey. My dad's Canadian. That's something. But I don't know anything. I was just using that one comparison to explain a phenomenon in sports philosophy. Dom Stern, we already got to that one. KY Maritime Guy says, you're nerds, I assume, with data. One thing that makes me mad is people saying teams feel pressure of a win streak. I never felt it in college football. I played for a major program, was rotational. Hey, man, that's an accomplishment. Yeah, I think I agree with that.
I do too. I don't really think, I think teams feel pressure to win the game that they're playing, pretty
Yeah.
simply.
Yeah. I don't think that there's like a mounting pressure week after week,
If anything, I
especially
feel
like,
like that would give me more confidence as a player.
yeah, no, I tend to agree. I lean on that side. Like the only time, I don't know, I could see it coming into play is like if OKC, for example, were to like
Yeah.
have kept their win streak going, and now it's like, oh my God, we're on win 33. We're going for the all-time record. Maybe there's a little bit of extra nerves there, but I don't know. I think for the most part, like these guys are so good at just dialing in on the task at
Like
hand.
the A's during the Moneyball
Mhm.
run when they set like the consecutive wins record, like they go up really big in that Royals game, and then the Royals storm back and they take the lead, and then the A's have to win it again. Like I think in that kind of instance where a team is going for a record, I think that may creep in. So I agree with
Maybe,
that.
but I also think like in a sport like baseball or basketball, especially where you have these huge seasons, like you do know one game is just one game. And so it's never going to be like the end of the world unless you are last game of the season playing for a playoff spot or whatever. Obviously, they all matter, but guys are really good at compartmentalizing. Josh Allen may throw up before or during every game, but he's one of the best competitors and one of the most clutch guys you'll ever see. It's not like he is nervous to a point of it impacting him. Guys know how to channel their nerves and keep it from affecting them in a negative way. I think it's one of the most impressive parts of being an elite athlete. Like I've asked this to my brother and my dad because we're all good tennis players, right? We're obviously not among the elite, but I asked, like, do you think there's a bigger difference between us and the actual best guys, like the top 5 players in the world, physically or mentally? There's obviously a big, huge difference on both fronts. Massive, okay? But I think it might be a bigger difference mentally because I'm just so impressed by how elite athletes, like truly elite top of their field athletes, handle pressure. The ability to deliver at the exact same level with the weight of the world on your shoulders in the biggest stakes moments, it's incredible. It really
They
is.
don't feel it. They've practiced them reps.
Yeah,
Reps are moved out.
I know, but still, reps in practice are so different from, okay, now this is the drive to win the Super Bowl. And this is the
Reps are
moment I've
moved
been
out,
waiting for
bruh.
my whole life.
Practice makes perfect.
Logan is just now citing cliches at me.
Ours.
There is some truth. You know what they say, Logan? Failing to prepare, what's that?
Preparing to fail.
Oh, Camden from the top rope. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Nerd Sesh. We appreciate you all. Happy holidays. This is not the last show that we're doing before Christmas, and we're not taking any sort of break for Christmas. In fact, the plan is we'll see you the day after because there's a lot of Christmas basketball to talk about. There is also Christmas football. Looks like it's kind of going to suck, though. Looks like they kind of fucked up the scheduling for that. And can I tell you something, Logan? I kind of think that's karmic justice. Even though
Fuck
it's a
'em.
Thursday this year, it's not like they're doing a Wednesday game, which is crazy overreach. I still think, take your
Christmas
one
is a
Thursday game.
basketball sport,
It
bruh.
is. That's right, Logan. Respect that. And now the NBA is just going to mog you. You didn't plan it to be this way, but you put shitty games on there. You didn't know that Patrick Mahomes was going to tear his ACL, but you did. You didn't know that Jaden Daniels was going to be out, but he is. I think he's still going to be out this week. And even if he plays, the Commanders suck. And what's the other game? It sucks too. I can't remember. So we got basketball. That's going to be the priority on Christmas. That, Logan, and me giving you all your little gifts. Me hiding in your stocking.
Like, give me a kiss, maybe.
Whoa, that's weird, dude. We're not into that sort of thing. This show is over now. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you very soon. If you want more of our stuff, you can find it all across our YouTube channel, all of our full-length episodes, all of our video breakdowns we do, mostly on the NBA. You can find all of our trivia content across social, and you can also find clips and graphics from the show there. You can listen back to our episode we just did with Matthew Sponhour, where he tried to stump us using your guys' questions. That was very, very fun. And if you want, you can also join our Discord to chat with the gang and be part of our community over there. So with that, as always, we appreciate you guys. I've been Carson Brabber.
I have been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.